I had been working at Blackridge Capital for 6 years. 6 years was long enough for everyone to know my name, but not long enough for anyone to know my secret. At least. That was what I thought. To everyone in the company. I was Ethan Carter, 32 years old, Senior Strategy Director. The guy who arrived before everyone else and left after everyone else. The guy who could turn around a failing project in 3 days. The guy who never talked about his personal life, especially my marriage. Because according to everyone around me, I was single, and I let them believe it. Not because I was ashamed, not because I didn't love my wife. Actually, it was the opposite. I loved her too much. My wife was Victoria Sterling, the CEO of Blackridge Capital, the woman every employee feared, the woman Wall Street called the Ice Queen, the woman who could destroy a billion-dollar company with 3 sentences in a meeting. And somehow, she was also the woman who stole the blankets from me every night, complained that I worked too much, and forced me to eat breakfast before leaving the apartment. But nobody knew that side of her. Nobody knew that after 6 p.m., the terrifying CEO disappeared, and the woman waiting for me at home was just Victoria. My wife. The problem was, if anyone at Blackridge discovered our relationship, everything would change. People would say I only succeeded because I was married to the CEO. Every achievement would become meaningless. Every promotion would become suspicious. Every decision I made would be questioned. 3 years ago, Victoria and I made an agreement at work. We were strangers at home. We were husband and wife. Simple. Perfect at least. I thought it was. Until that Monday morning. You're seriously still single? I looked up from my laptop. Ryan Blake was standing beside my desk. Ryan was the company's vice president of operations. The kind of person who smiled during meetings, but calculated how to hurt everyone in the room. He leaned against my desk. Ethan, I actually respect your dedication. I continued typing. Thanks, but honestly. He looked at the people around us. Working this hard for 6 years and still having nobody waiting for you at home. Several employees laughed. I ignored him. Ryan loved attention. The more people watched, the happier he became. Come on. Ryan continued. Now don't tell me you never dated anyone. One of the analysts nearby joined in. Maybe Ethan is secretly married. Everyone laughed harder. Ryan shook his head. No way. Why? The analyst asked. Ryan smiled. Because no woman would tolerate him. More laughter. I closed my laptop. Are you done? Ryan raised his hands. Relax. I'm joking. Then he lowered his voice. Besides, everyone knows you're married to your work. I looked at him. That sentence was actually true. Just not in the way he thought. Daniel Brooks, my closest friend in the company, walked over. Ryan, don't you have a meeting? Ryan smiled. Actually, I do. He looked at me. But before I go, Ethan, what? When are you finally going to find someone? I smiled slightly. Maybe when you stop asking. The people around us laughed. Ryan's expression changed for half a second. He hated when he wasn't the one controlling the conversation. Then he walked away. Daniel waited until Ryan disappeared. You know he's trying to provoke you. Right. I know. You could shut him up. I could. Then why don't you? I looked back at my screen. Because he doesn't matter. Daniel laughed. You know what scares me about you? What? You actually mean that? I didn't answer. Because Daniel was right. Ryan didn't matter. At least. Not yet. I had bigger things to deal with. A $300 million acquisition project was sitting in front of me. The board meeting was in 2 weeks. If the project succeeded, Blackridge would enter a completely new market. And if it failed, a lot of executives would lose their positions, including Ryan. That was why he had been trying to get close to my project. He wanted credit. Everyone knew it. Nobody said it. Corporate politics was simple. The person who did the work was not always the person who got rewarded. Sometimes the person standing closest to success claimed it. And Ryan was very good at standing in the right place. Around noon, I received a message from Victoria. Did you eat? I looked at the message, then replied, yes. 3 seconds later, another message. Lied. I smiled. I typed, I had coffee. The reply came instantly. Coffee is not food. I almost laughed. The same woman who terrified a room full of executives was currently arguing with me about lunch. I typed, I have a meeting. Her reply, cancel it. I stared at the screen. Then, I'm your employee during work hours. A minute passed. Then, interesting. Another message arrived. At home. You don't say that. I immediately locked my phone. Because Daniel was sitting across from me. He narrowed his eyes. Who was that? Nobody. He laughed. You smiled. No? You definitely smiled. I ignored him, but Daniel wasn't stupid. He had known me for years. Wait, he leaned forward. Is there someone? I looked at him. What? You heard me, no? You're lying. I don't lie. Daniel pointed at me. That, what? You always say that when you're lying. I shook my head. You spend too much time watching detective shows. He laughed. Fine. Keep your secrets. He returned to his desk, but I knew something. Daniel was the only person in the company who had ever come close to discovering the truth. 3 months ago, he accidentally saw me leaving a restaurant with Victoria. He had immediately frozen. The next day, he asked me directly, "Are you dating Victoria Sterling?" I almost choked on my coffee. No? He stared at me. Then why did she fix your collar? I had no answer to Oh, I told him the truth. Not everything. Just enough. Victoria was my wife. Daniel had been silent for a full minute. Then he said, "That I have one question." What? How are you alive? I laughed. What? She's Victoria Sterling. I know. She fired a director last month because he interrupted her presentation. I know. She made a billionaire apologize publicly. I know. Daniel looked completely confused. Then how does she act at home? I smiled and said, like a normal person. He didn't believe me. Nobody would, because nobody had ever seen Victoria Sterling the way I did. To the world. She was cold. To me. She was different. But that was exactly why we kept it hidden. Because the moment people knew, everything would change, and I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. That I didn't know that by the end of the day, the entire company would know one thing, that I wasn't single, and the person who would reveal it would be my wife herself. That I thought the biggest problem I would face that day was Ryan trying to steal my acquisition plan. That I was wrong. The real problem arrived at 2:17 p.m. and it arrived with flowers. That a lot of flowers. That I was in the middle of reviewing financial projections when the entire strategy department suddenly became unusually quiet. That was never a good sign. At Blackridge Capital, silence usually meant one of two things. Someone important had arrived. Or someone was about to lose their job. I looked up. Daniel was standing near the entrance, staring at something behind me. Ethan, what? You might want to look. I turned around. 3 delivery employees were walking into the department. Each person was holding a massive bouquet of roses. Not 10, not 20, a lot more. The entire office stopped working. People started whispering. What is happening? Is someone getting engaged? Whose flowers are those? I watched as the delivery employees walked directly toward my desk. My first reaction was confusion. My second reaction was concern. Because nobody at Blackridge sent flowers randomly, especially not to my department. The delivery manager looked at me. Mr. Ethan Carter? Yes, signature. Please. I didn't move. Who sent them? The man smiled. Your wife. The entire department went silent. I froze for half a second. Not because I didn't know who sent them. I knew immediately. Victoria, but because of one word. Wife. A word nobody in this company had ever connected with me. The delivery manager continued. She specifically requested that the message be delivered in front of your coworkers. My expression changed. Daniel noticed that. He looked at me. Wait. I ignored him. The delivery team began placing roses around my desk. 1. Bouquet. 2. 5. 10. The number kept increasing. People started counting. Are those 99 roses? Someone whispered. My heart skipped slightly, because Victoria never did anything without a reason, especially something this public. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew everyone was watching. She knew everyone would talk. The delivery manager finally handed me a black envelope. Please read the card. I opened it. Inside was a simple message. Only one sentence. For my husband. Don't forget you promised to have dinner with me tonight. Love. Your wife? I stared at the card. For a moment, I didn't know what to do. Then someone behind me laughed. Ryan. Of course, that he had appeared at the perfect time. He walked through the crowd, looking at the roses, then looking at me. What a performance. Nobody spoke. Ryan picked up the card. He read it, then laughed louder. Your wife? He looked around. Seriously? A few employees exchanged looks. Ryan smiled. Did Ethan finally hire someone to pretend to be his girlfriend? A few people laughed nervously. Daniel immediately frowned. Ryan, what? Ryan shrugged. I'm just saying. He looked at me. Ethan has worked here for 6 years. Nobody has ever seen him with anyone. Nobody has ever heard him mention a relationship. Suddenly today, 99 roses appear. He shook his head. Convenient. The office became uncomfortable. I looked at Ryan. Are you finished? He smiled. Not really. He picked up another rose. You know what's funny? What? If someone really loved you, They wouldn't hide for 3 years. That sentence made several people quiet because it sounded reasonable. To them. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know why Victoria and I kept everything secret. They didn't know how many nights we discussed whether we should tell people. They didn't know how much pressure came with being married to the CEO. Ryan placed the rose down. Anyway, he smiled. Congratulations on your imaginary wife. He walked away. The moment he left, Daniel rushed over. Ethan, I didn't answer. Ethan, what? His eyes were wide. Are you actually married? I looked at him, then looked at everyone watching. The entire department was waiting. I could feel dozens of eyes on me. People wanted an answer. I had two choices: tell the truth or continue hiding. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Everyone heard it because my ringtone was connected to the office speakers. A mistake from IT months ago. I had forgotten to change it. The screen lit up. Victoria Sterling, the CEO. Everyone saw it. The room became even quieter. Daniel looked at the phone, then at me, then back at the phone. Ethan, I picked up. Hello. Victoria's voice came through, calm, professional, completely different from the woman who texted me about breakfast. Did you receive the roses? I glanced around. Yes, good. A pause. Then she said, why didn't you tell them? My hand tightened around the phone. Tell them what? Another pause. Then Victoria answered, that you're married. Nobody moved. The entire department heard. Not through my phone, through the silence, through everyone's reaction. I didn't need to look around. I already knew. Everyone had heard. Victoria continued. I thought you were tired of pretending. I lowered my voice. Victoria, but she ignored my warning. Ethan. Her tone softened. You told me last night you hated hiding. That was true, but I didn't expect her to solve the problem like this. Publicly. In front of everyone. The entire company. I looked toward the glass wall, and then I saw something. The elevator doors opened. Everyone near the entrance suddenly stood straight. People stopped talking because Victoria Sterling had arrived. My wife, the CEO, the ice queen herself. She walked toward my department. Everyone moved aside. Nobody dared stop her. The call was still connected. She looked directly at me. Then she ended the call. The office was completely silent. Victoria stopped in front of my desk. Nobody breathed. Ryan stood in the distance, confused. Everyone waited. Victoria looked at the roses, then looked at me, and said, that you're late. I blinked. What? For dinner. Everyone looked confused. Victoria sighed. Did you forget? I looked at her. You mean tonight? Yes. She stepped closer. Then, in front of everyone, she adjusted my collar. The same thing Daniel once noticed. The same small gesture nobody understood. Then she said quietly, my husband always forgets his schedule. Nobody reacted, because nobody knew how to react. Ryan's face changed. For the first time that day, he looked uncertain. Victoria turned toward everyone. Her voice returned to the cold tone they all knew. Since everyone seems interested, she looked around. I'll clarify. Nobody moved. This man, she placed her hand on my shoulder, is my husband. The words hit harder than any announcement in company history. Someone dropped a pen. Someone whispered, no way. Daniel just stared. Ryan looked like he had stopped understanding the world. Victoria continued. His achievements have nothing to do with our marriage. He earned every position himself, and anyone who disagrees. Her eyes moved toward Ryan. Can speak directly to me. Nobody said anything. Ryan opened his mouth, then closed it. For once, he had nothing to say. Victoria looked back at me. Then her expression softened. Only for me. Are you coming home on time tonight? I almost smiled. Yes, promise. Promise, she nodded, then turned around. Everyone watched her leave. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then the office exploded. Questions, shouts, whispers. Ethan is married to Victoria? Since when? How did nobody know? Does the board know? I stayed silent because I knew something. This was only the beginning. Victoria didn't send 99 roses because she wanted to reveal our marriage. That was only the first move. She sent them because she knew someone was about to attack me, and she wanted everyone to understand one thing: that I wasn't alone. But I didn't know. The person planning to destroy me was already watching. And he had just witnessed the biggest mistake of his life, Ryan Blake. Because after today, he wasn't trying to embarrass an ordinary employee anymore. That he had challenged the husband of the woman who controlled his entire future. The office didn't return to normal after Victoria left. IT was impossible. For 3 years. Everyone at Blackridge Capital had believed one thing about me. I was just Ethan Carter, a talented employee, a quiet guy, a man who spent all his time working because he had nothing else. Then, in less than 10 minutes, everything changed because the woman who controlled the entire company had walked into my department and called me her husband. People didn't know how to process it. Neither did they know how to act around me anymore. The first person who came over was a junior analyst named Kevin. He stood beside my desk for almost 10 seconds before saying anything. Yeah. So, I looked at him. So what? He scratched his head. I have a question. Go ahead. Are you actually married to Victoria Sterling? I looked at the 99 roses covering my desk, then at the card, then back at him. Yes. His eyes widened. Like, legally married? I nodded. Yes. He immediately stepped back. I need to apologize for what? For every time I said you were married to your job. I laughed. You weren't wrong. No? I was completely wrong. He pointed at the flowers. I just didn't know your job was your wife. Several people laughed. The tension finally loosened. But not everyone was laughing. Ryan was still standing near the conference room. Watching me, he looked different. Not angry. Not embarrassed. Calculating. I knew that look. Ryan wasn't someone who accepted losing. He wasn't the type of person who admitted defeat. He was the type who waited, then attacked when everyone forgot. Daniel came over and sat on the edge of my desk. I have to say something. What? I thought you were hiding a girlfriend and I was prepared to tease you for being secretive. He looked at the roses. Now I realize you were hiding the CEO. I smiled. Pretty big difference. Yeah. He shook his head. Actually, I have another question. What? How did you convince Victoria Sterling to marry you? I looked at him. I didn't. Daniel raised an eyebrow. She proposed? No. Then. I smiled. I asked. Daniel stared at me, and she said yes. Yes. He looked genuinely confused. I need to understand something. What? Everyone in this company thinks Victoria Sterling has no emotions. I shrugged. They're wrong. How wrong? I thought about it, then answered. Very wrong. Because they had never seen the woman who woke me up every morning because she didn't want me skipping breakfast. They had never seen the woman who secretly checked my schedule because she worried I worked too hard. They had never seen the woman who pretended to be cold because showing weakness in business meant giving enemies a weapon. They knew Victoria Sterling, the CEO. They didn't know Victoria Carter, my wife. But now everyone knew we were married. And that meant the rules had changed. That I wasn't worried about gossip. That I wasn't worried about questions. That I was worried about one thing. The company. Because Victoria and I both knew something. The moment people discovered our marriage, someone would try to use it against us. And it didn't take long. At 5:30 p.m. I received an email from HR, mandatory executive review meeting tomorrow morning. Reason: potential conflict of interest. I stared at the message. Daniel noticed. Problem? I turned my laptop toward him. His expression changed. Already? I nodded, faster than expected. Who? I didn't need to answer. We both knew. Ryan. The problem wasn't that the company cared about my marriage. The problem was that someone wanted the company to care. Ryan had spent years building his reputation as a loyal executive. That he knew exactly how to manipulate rules. He wouldn't attack Victoria directly. That would be suicide. Instead, he would attack me. Make people believe I only succeeded because I was her husband. Make the board question my achievements. Make investors question company decisions. Classic strategy. Destroy the person beside the king before challenging the king. That night, I went home later than promised. Victoria was waiting. The moment I walked inside, she looked at the time. You are 12 minutes late. I placed my jacket down. I know. You promised. I had an HR email. Her expression changed. Already? I nodded. She didn't look surprised. That bothered me. You expected this? She walked toward me. Yes? And you still exposed us? Yes? I looked at her. Victoria. She stopped. For a moment. She wasn't the CEO. She was my wife. I didn't expose us because I was emotional. Then why? She looked directly at me. Because I was tired. I stayed silent. She continued. 3 years. 3 years of watching people underestimate you. 3 years of watching them take credit for your work. 3 years of watching you stay quiet because you were protecting my position. Her voice became softer. I married you because I believed in you, not because I wanted you to hide behind me. I looked away. She wasn't wrong. But there was another problem. People will say I used you. Victoria immediately answered. Then prove them wrong. I looked at her. She continued. Don't fight because you're my husband. Fight Because you're Ethan Carter. That sentence stayed with me, because she was right, for 3 years. I had worried that people would think my marriage helped me, but I forgot something. Before I became Victoria Sterling's husband, I was already Ethan Carter, that I built my reputation, that I earned my position, I solved problems nobody else could solve, that I didn't need anyone's approval, not even the company's. The next morning, I arrived early. The HR meeting was scheduled for 9 at 8:55. I entered the conference room. Ryan was already there. He smiled when he saw me. Morning. Ethan. I sat down. Ryan. He looked relaxed. Too relaxed. That meant he had prepared something. The HR director, Chloe Adams, entered with several documents. Chloe was known as someone who always stayed neutral, but I knew better. Nobody survived in corporate HR by being neutral. Everyone had a side. She placed the documents on the table. Ethan, this meeting concerns a potential violation of company ethics. I looked at her. What violation? She opened the folder. Your marriage to CEO Victoria Sterling. I almost laughed. That's the violation? Not the marriage itself. She adjusted her glasses. The concern is whether your relationship affected company decisions. Ryan leaned back. Nobody is accusing you. Ethan, that sentence immediately told me he was accusing me. We just want transparency. I looked at him. Transparency? He nodded. Yes, interesting. What? You were the first person who knew yesterday. His smile disappeared slightly. I continued. You were also the first person to suggest my achievements were suspicious. Ryan's expression hardened. I'm just protecting the company. I smiled. No. You are protecting yourself. The room became quiet. Chloe looked uncomfortable. Ryan leaned forward. You think being Victoria's husband makes you untouchable? No. I looked at him. I think being competent makes me untouchable. His face darkened. Before he could respond, the conference room door opened. Everyone turned. Victoria walked in. Nobody expected her, especially Ryan. She looked at the documents on the table, then at Chloe, then at Ryan. What exactly are we discussing? Nobody answered. Victoria picked up the file. She read the first page, then smiled. A very cold smile, the kind that made executives nervous. I see. She closed the file. So this is the plan. Ryan immediately stood. Victoria, this isn't personal. She looked at him. You're right. It isn't personal. She placed the file down. It's worse. A pause. It's incompetent. Nobody spoke. Victoria looked around the room. Since everyone is concerned about fairness, let's review everything. She turned toward me. Ethan, yes? Bring your project records. I understood immediately. She wasn't protecting me. She was giving me a chance. The same chance she had always believed I deserved. Then she looked at Ryan. And Ryan, yes? Bring yours too. His expression changed. Because suddenly, this meeting wasn't about my marriage anymore. That IT was about something else. Something Ryan didn't expect. Proof. Proof of who actually created value for this company. And who had only been taking credit. Victoria walked out. The room stayed silent. Ryan stared at the closed door, then looked at me. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Because he finally understood something. The roses weren't a warning. They were a declaration that my wife wasn't hiding me anymore. And anyone who tried to destroy me would have to face her. The morning after Victoria revealed our marriage, I expected chaos. That I expected questions. That I expected rumors. That I expected people to look at me differently. What I didn't expect was silence. Not normal silence. The kind of silence where everyone was watching, but nobody wanted to be the first person to speak. That was exactly what happened when I walked into Blackridge Capital the next morning. Usually, people greeted me casually. Morning. Ethan, did you finish that report? Can you check these numbers? That day, nothing. People moved aside when I passed. Some smiled awkwardly. Others immediately looked away. I wasn't surprised. The company had spent 3 years believing one version of me. Now they had to accept another. The biggest problem wasn't that they knew I was married. The biggest problem was who I was married to. Victoria Sterling wasn't just my wife. She was the person who signed their salaries. The person who approved promotions. The person who could change their careers with one decision. And now everyone was wondering the same thing. Had Ethan Carter earned everything? Or had he been protected by the CEO? I knew those questions would come. I just didn't expect them to come from someone who pretended to be my friend. Ethan, I stopped near my desk. Kevin, the junior analyst from yesterday, looked nervous. Yeah. He hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sure. He looked around before lowering his voice. Did you really never tell anyone because you wanted your own reputation? I nodded. Yes, he seemed relieved. Honestly, what? I believe you. I looked at him. Why? He shrugged. Because yesterday, when everyone was staring at you, you looked more annoyed than proud. I almost smiled. That was a surprisingly accurate observation. Most people would have enjoyed the attention, but I didn't. I never wanted people to know because I wanted respect, not because of Victoria, because of me. Kevin walked away. Then Daniel appeared. He was holding two coffees. He placed one on my desk. Peace offering. I looked at him. What did you do? He laughed. Nothing. You only bring coffee when you want something. Fine. He sat down. I have questions. I know. First, he pointed at me. How did you keep this secret for 3 years? Carefully, that's not an answer. It's the answer. Daniel sighed. Second question. Go ahead. Does Victoria actually act like that at home? Like what? Like the person everyone fears. I looked at him. No. He narrowed his eyes. Explain. She argues about normal things, such as food. She gets angry if I skip breakfast. Daniel stared. The woman who made a competitor lose $1 billion contract because they insulted her company gets angry about breakfast? Yes, that's unbelievable. I shrugged. She's human. Daniel laughed. Nobody is going to believe that. I know. He became serious. Are you worried? I knew what he meant. Not about gossip, about Ryan. Yes, Daniel nodded. Me too. Because we both understood. Ryan wasn't going to stop. He lost control of the situation yesterday. People laughed at him. He hated that more than losing. And people like Ryan didn't forgive humiliation. They returned IT at 9 a.m. Every executive received a company-wide announcement. Emergency Strategy Review Meeting. Topic: the impact of recent personal disclosures on corporate governance. Everyone knew what that meant. They weren't even pretending anymore. They were reviewing me. I walked into the conference room. Ryan was already there, this time. He didn't smile. That was interesting. Ryan always smiled when he thought he had control. The fact that he wasn't smiling meant he was uncertain. Chloe from HR opened the meeting. We're not here to make assumptions. She looked at me. We're here to ensure company transparency. I nodded. Fine. Ryan crossed his arms. I think Ethan understands. I looked at him. Do I? He ignored that. Nobody doubts Ethan's talent. A classic corporate sentence. When someone said nobody doubts, it usually meant they were about to create doubt. Ryan continued. But the timing creates questions. What timing? The CEO revealing your marriage immediately after a conflict involving your promotion. I leaned back. Interesting. What? You make it sound like Victoria helped me. Ryan didn't answer, because that was exactly what he wanted people to believe. Chloe looked at the documents. We reviewed several decisions involving Ethan's projects, and she paused. Some employees have raised concerns. Who? Silence. I smiled. Anonymous. Chloe didn't answer. Ryan looked away. That confirmed everything. Anonymous complaints were corporate weapons. Anyone could create them. Nobody had to take responsibility. I looked at Victoria's empty chair. She wasn't there. That was intentional. She wanted me to handle it. She wanted everyone to see that I could stand on my own. Chloe continued. Some employees believe Ethan received opportunities because of his relationship with the CEO. I looked around the table, then review my work. Ryan immediately said, we are good. I opened my laptop. Because every project I led has documentation. I connected the screen. Every decision, every strategy, every result. The first report appeared, the Hudson acquisition. I looked at Ryan. You approved the final version. He nodded. Yes. You also presented it to the board. Yes. Who created the strategy? Ryan didn't answer. Nobody needed him to. I continued. The Westline expansion. Another file. The cost reduction plan. Another. The recovery strategy after the failed merger. Another point one by one. Project after project. The room became quieter. Because every document showed the same thing. My name. My analysis. My decisions. My results. Ryan's expression became worse. Then he interrupted. Numbers can be arranged. I looked at him. Excuse me? Data can tell any story. I smiled. You're right. I closed the files. That's why I brought something else. I opened another folder. Emails. Ryan's face changed. Only slightly. But I noticed. This contains every time you requested my help. I clicked. The first email appeared. From Ryan. Ethan. I need your analysis before tomorrow's board presentation. Another. Ethan. Can you fix the strategy model? Another. Ethan. The client rejected my proposal. Can you review it? The room became uncomfortable because everyone understood. The person questioning my ability was the person who depended on it. Ryan's jaw tightened. This proves nothing, no? I looked at him. Then explain why you needed my work. He stayed silent. For the first time, Ryan had no easy answer. But then Chloe received a message. She looked at her phone. Her expression changed. What? Ryan asked. She hesitated, then looked at me. Ethan, what? There is another complaint. About what? She slowly answered. Favoritism. I frowned. From who? She looked uncomfortable, then said, several employees claim the CEO has started treating you differently since yesterday. The room went quiet again. I almost laughed, because that was exactly the trap. Ryan couldn't prove my past was influenced by Victoria, so now he was trying to create a new narrative. That Victoria was helping me now. And then, the conference room door opened. Everyone turned. Victoria walked in this time. She wasn't cold. She was holding something. A coffee cup and a small paper bag. She walked directly toward me. The entire room watched. She placed the coffee beside me, then put the bag down. Ethan, yes? You forgot breakfast again. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Victoria looked around, then looked at Chloe. What complaint? Chloe immediately stood. CEO Sterling. This is a governance discussion. Victoria nodded. Good. She looked at me, then at everyone else. Then let's discuss governance. She pulled out a chair and sat beside me. Not at the head of the table, beside me. Ryan noticed. His face changed because Victoria had just made a choice. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't pretending. She was publicly standing with me. Then she said, since everyone is concerned about fairness. She looked at the documents. Let's review every employee who has benefited from personal connections. The room froze. Ryan's expression changed. What do you mean? Victoria looked at him. I mean, we should review everyone, not just Ethan. Everyone, including you. And that was the moment Ryan realized something. The investigation he created might become the weapon that destroyed him. Ryan's expression changed the moment Victoria finished speaking. For someone who always had an answer ready, he suddenly looked like he had forgotten his lines. That was the difference between confidence and arrogance. Confident people knew they could win. Arrogant people only looked confident when they believed nobody could challenge them. Ryan had spent years attacking people who couldn't fight back. He wasn't prepared for someone who could, especially not Victoria. Chloe looked between us. Theo Sterling. Are you suggesting we investigate all executives? Victoria picked up my coffee, then pushed it toward me. Yes. Everyone stared. Not because of the investigation, because of the coffee. The CEO of Blackridge Capital had walked into an executive meeting and personally brought breakfast to an employee. Even though that employee was her husband, the problem was, the company wasn't used to seeing Victoria care about anyone. Ryan used that moment. Exactly. He leaned forward. This is why we have concerns. Victoria looked at him. Explain. Ryan immediately sat straighter. The CEO's personal relationship with Ethan is affecting company decisions. I watched Victoria carefully. Most people would have become angry. She didn't. She simply asked, based on what evidence? Ryan paused. Based on behavior. Behavior is not evidence. He continued. The company has never seen you personally deliver breakfast to an employee. Victoria nodded. Correct. That is unusual. Correct. So you admit there is special treatment. The room became quiet. Everyone waited for Victoria's answer. She looked at him, then calmly said, yes. Ryan smiled slightly. He thought he had won. Until she continued. I treat my husband differently. Everyone froze, but not as an employee. Victoria looked directly at him. I treat him differently because he is the person I go home to every night. Ryan's smile disappeared. But every decision involving him has always been based on his ability. She opened a document. Let's compare. She looked at Chloe. Pull the promotion records from 3 years ago. Chloe hesitated. Now. A few minutes later, the documents appeared. Victoria looked at everyone. Ethan became Senior Strategy Director 3 years ago. She tapped the file. Before anyone here knew about our marriage, the room became silent. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Victoria continued. His promotion was approved by the board, not by me. His projects were reviewed by independent teams, not by me. His bonuses were calculated according to company performance, not by me. She closed the file. So unless Ryan believes the entire board was controlled by me, she paused. His argument has no foundation. Nobody spoke. Ryan clenched his jaw, but he wasn't finished. People like him never stopped after losing one argument. They changed the battlefield. Fine. He leaned back. Maybe Ethan earned his position. Victoria looked at him. Maybe? Ryan ignored the question. But employees are worried about the future. What future? The future where Ethan has unlimited influence because he is married to you. I almost laughed, because that was exactly what Ryan wanted. He wanted people to think I was dangerous. Not because I had power, because he was afraid I might use it. Victoria looked at me, then asked, Ethan, yes? Do you want to respond? Everyone looked at me. For 3 years. I avoided attention. Today, I decided not to. I stood up. Yes. I looked at Ryan. You keep talking about influence. He didn't answer. So let's talk about influence. I opened another file. The Hamilton account. Ryan's expression changed. I continued. 2 years ago? You wanted to sign this client. Yes. You presented your strategy. Yes. The client rejected it. Silence. Who fixed the proposal? Nobody answered. I looked around. Me. I clicked. Who spent 14 hours rebuilding the financial model? Me. Who attended the final negotiation? Me. The final slide appeared. Who saved the company from losing a $120 million contract? My name appeared. Again, the room was silent. I turned toward Ryan. Influence isn't taking credit. It's creating results. Ryan stared at me. His face was difficult to read. Anger, frustration, embarrassment, all mixed together. Then he smiled. A fake smile. Impressive. I knew that tone. He was preparing something. But Ethan, he looked at me. You still don't understand. Understand what? People don't care about your explanations. They care about what they see. He pointed slightly toward Victoria. They see the CEO protecting her husband. Nobody spoke, because that was a powerful argument. Not because it was true, because perception mattered. Ryan knew business. He knew people. He knew facts were sometimes weaker than rumors. Victoria looked at him. You finished? Ryan nodded. For now. Victoria stood. Good. She picked up the documents. Then I have work to do. Everyone thought the meeting was over, but before leaving, Victoria stopped. She looked at Chloe. Effective immediately. Everyone looked up. All executive performance reviews will be reopened. Chloe's eyes widened. All? Yes. Victoria looked at Ryan. Starting with Vice President Blake. Ryan's face changed. What? Victoria's voice remained calm. Since he believes transparency matters so much, she smiled slightly. He should be the first example. Ryan immediately stood. Victoria, that's unnecessary. No. She looked at him. It's necessary. Then she walked out. I followed. The moment the door closed behind us, I exhaled. Victoria looked at me. You handled that well. I smiled. You planned this, no? You knew he would attack. Yes, same thing. She smiled. A real smile. The kind nobody at Blackridge ever saw. Then she handed me the paper bag. Eat. I looked inside. A sandwich. You brought breakfast to an executive meeting? Yes, why? She looked confused. Because you skipped breakfast. I laughed. Victoria? What? You just destroyed a vice president. Yes, and your biggest concern is that I didn't eat. Yes. I shook my head. You are unbelievable. She stepped closer. That's why you married me. I smiled. Maybe. She narrowed her eyes. Maybe? I immediately corrected. Definitely. She seemed satisfied. Then her expression changed. Ethan, what? Ryan isn't done. I know. He will try something bigger. I know. She looked at me. Are you ready? I thought about it, then nodded. Yes, because she was right. Yesterday, everyone thought the roses were the end. They weren't. They were the beginning. Ryan had lost control, and when people like Ryan lost control, they became dangerous. That afternoon, I discovered exactly how dangerous. At 4:30 p.m. An email appeared in my inbox. Subject, Internal Investigation Update. I opened it, and my expression changed, because inside was a report accusing me of something completely different. Not favoritism, not conflict of interest, something worse. Financial misconduct. Someone had created evidence. Someone had forged documents. And according to the report, the person who approved the transaction was me. For 5 seconds, I didn't move. I just stared at the document on my screen. The accusation was simple. Too simple. A fake payment approval. A fake authorization. A fake signature. But the damage it could create was real. The report claimed that 6 months ago, I approved a financial transfer related to one of Blackridge's investment partners. The amount wasn't small. $8.5 million. Enough money to turn a normal corporate disagreement into a criminal investigation. And at the bottom of the document, my signature, perfectly copied. Daniel noticed something was wrong. He walked over. Ethan? I didn't answer that. He looked at my screen. The moment he read the report, his expression changed. What the hell? I closed the document. Don't say anything, Ethan. This is serious. I know. This isn't a normal office fight. I know. Daniel looked around. People were still working, laughing, talking, completely unaware that someone had just placed a knife on my back. Who did this? I didn't answer, because I already knew. Ryan. But knowing and proving were two different things. That was his strategy. He couldn't beat me with my work. He couldn't beat me with my reputation. He created a problem that didn't require me to lose. He only needed people to doubt me that I in business. Reputation was everything that a successful person could survive a failed project, but not a fraud accusation. That I immediately stood up. Where are you going? Daniel asked. CEO office. He looked at me. Should I come? I shook my head. No. Are you sure? Yes. Because this wasn't about having support. This was about handling an attack. That I walked toward Victoria's office. Normally, people needed appointments. Nobody entered without permission, not even executives. But when I reached the door, her assistant immediately stood up. Mr. Carter, she's inside. The assistant nodded. She asked me to let you in immediately. I paused. She already knew that, of course she did. Victoria always knew more than she showed. That I opened the door. She was standing behind her desk, reading a report. She didn't look surprised when she saw me. What happened? I placed the document on her desk. Someone is trying to frame me. She didn't even look at the paper. I know. I frowned. You know? She nodded. Chloe sent it to me before you received it. I stared at her. Then why didn't you stop it? That question came out harsher than I intended, but Victoria didn't get angry. She just looked at me. Because I wanted to see your reaction. I froze. What? She walked around the desk. Ethan. She picked up the document. Do you think I don't know you? I didn't answer. She continued. If I destroy every enemy before they reach you, you will never grow stronger. I looked at her. So you let someone accuse me of fraud? No. Her answer was immediate. I let someone reveal themselves. She placed the document back down. Look carefully. I frowned. What? The mistake. I looked at the report again. At first. I saw my signature, the amount, the accusation. Then I looked closer. Victoria pointed. Here. I followed her finger. The approval date. I narrowed my eyes. What about it? Your signature was copied from a document you signed 2 weeks after this date. I froze. She continued. Whoever created this file didn't know your actual signature history. I stared at the report. She was right. The fake signature was good. Very good. But not perfect. That a professional forgery. Made by someone who had access to my documents. But not someone who truly understood my work. That I looked at Victoria. You already knew? She nodded. I suspected. Who? She didn't answer immediately. That told me everything. Ryan. Victoria looked away. Probably. I laughed quietly. Probably? She looked at me. I never accuse people without proof. I nodded. That was Victoria. Cold. Precise. Never emotional. Even when protecting me. Especially when protecting me. Then she said something unexpected. Tomorrow morning. I want you to attend the executive meeting. Why? Because Ryan expects you to hide. I understood immediately. She wasn't trying to protect me. She was trying to force Ryan into a mistake. If I show fear, he wins. If I fight, he becomes careless. I smiled. You really are ruthless. She looked at me. You like that about me? I didn't deny it. Because I did. That night. We didn't talk about work. At least. We tried not to, but 5 minutes after dinner. Victoria opened her laptop. I looked at her. No. She stopped. No. No work. She looked surprised. Ethan, no. I closed the laptop. Tonight. You're not the CEO. She stared at me. Then who am I? I smiled. My wife. For a moment. She said nothing. Then something happened that nobody in the company would believe. Victoria Sterling smiled. Not a small professional smile. A real one. You know what? Sometimes I wonder why I married someone who argues with me. I laughed. Because you like being challenged. She didn't deny it. The next morning. The executive meeting began at 8. Everyone was there, including Ryan. He looked confident. Too confident. That meant he believed his trap worked. Chloe started the meeting. We are here regarding a financial irregularity. She looked at me. Ethan Carter. Nobody spoke. Ryan sat calmly. Waiting, Chloe continued. An internal review found a transaction approval under your name. She displayed the document. The room reacted. Some people looked shocked. Some looked suspicious. Ryan immediately spoke. I want to make something clear. I looked at him. Go ahead, he sighed. I don't want anyone to think this is personal. That sentence again. The favorite sentence of people making personal attacks. I respect Ethan. He paused. But the evidence must be reviewed. I leaned back. You're right. Ryan looked surprised that I continued. The evidence should be reviewed. He smiled slightly. Good. Then I added. Starting with how it was created, his smile disappeared. Chloe looked at me. What do you mean? I opened my laptop. I mean, this document is fake. The room became silent. Ryan laughed. Ethan, what? That's a serious accusation. Yes. Do you have proof? I looked at him. Yes. That caught him off guard that I connected my laptop. The first screen appeared. Signature comparison. The second, document creation history. The third, access logs. The room became quieter. I continued. The person who created this file had access to my old contracts. Everyone looked at Ryan. Because only certain executives had access. I clicked another file. And they made one mistake. The document appeared. The original approval template. I pointed. The formatting changed. Ryan's expression shifted. Only slightly. But enough. You changed the document. I said. Nobody spoke. Ryan immediately stood. That's ridiculous. Is it? I looked at him. Then explain why the edited file was created from your department system. Silence. Complete silence. For the first time. Ryan looked nervous. But then Chloe's phone rang. She answered. Her face changed. She looked at me. Then at Ryan. What? Everyone waited. Chloe slowly put down the phone. The IT department found another issue. What issue? Ryan asked. She looked uncomfortable. The person who accessed Ethan's files, a pause, was not Ryan. Everyone froze. Ryan slowly smiled. Relief returned to his face. Then Chloe finished. It was someone using Ryan's credentials. The room changed instantly, because that meant one thing. Someone had access to Ryan's account. Someone was using him. Ryan looked confused. I don't understand. Neither did I. Because this wasn't how the plan was supposed to go. Someone else was involved. Someone who wanted Ryan blamed. Victoria looked at me, and I knew from her expression, she had realized something too. This wasn't just Ryan attacking me anymore. Ryan was also a target, and whoever was behind this was playing a much bigger game. The meeting ended without a decision, but as I walked out, Victoria stopped beside me, quietly. She said, Ethan, yes? We need to be careful, because of Ryan. She looked at me. No, because Ryan might not be the biggest threat. I looked at her. Then who is? Victoria's expression became serious, and for the first time in years, I saw something I almost never saw from her. Concern. She whispered, someone who knows our marriage was never supposed to be discovered, and that meant only one thing. Someone inside Blackridge had known our secret for 3 years, and they had been waiting for the right moment to use it. The biggest mistake people made when dealing with corporate battles was assuming the loudest person was the strongest. Ryan was loud. He complained that he created rumors. But Ryan wasn't the person I was worried about. The person I was worried about was the one who stayed silent. Because silent people didn't attack randomly. They waited, they collected information. They chose the exact moment when you were weakest. And someone inside Blackridge had been waiting for 3 years, the morning after the financial accusation collapsed. I thought things would calm down. I was wrong. At 7:02 a.m. My assistant sent me a message. Urgent. Check your email. I opened my inbox. The first email was from Human Resources. Subject promotion review update. I already knew it was bad news, because companies never send good news with the word .review. I opened the email. The message was short. Due to recent concerns regarding internal governance. The promotion decision for Senior Strategy Director Ethan Carter has been temporarily suspended pending further review. I read it twice. Not because I didn't understand, because I couldn't believe how quickly they moved. Yesterday, they accused me of fraud. The accusation failed. They changed the attack. Now they weren't saying I did something wrong. They were saying I created uncertainty. Corporate language was interesting. They rarely said, "We are punishing you." They said, "We are protecting the company." But the result was always the same. Someone lost. And this time, it was me. Daniel arrived 10 minutes later. One look at my expression told him something happened. What now? I turned my monitor toward him. He read the email. His face immediately changed. No. I nodded. They suspended your promotion. Yes, but why? I leaned back. Because they can't prove I did anything wrong. So they punish you anyway. Exactly. Daniel was angry. That's insane, no. I shook my head. It's smart. He looked at me. How is this smart? Because if they remove me directly, people ask questions, but if they delay my promotion, I tap the email. They make people think something is wrong. Daniel was quiet because he understood. This wasn't about the promotion. It was about reputation. Ryan couldn't destroy my career overnight. So he was trying to slowly damage my credibility, make people hesitate, make executives question, make the board uncomfortable. Then eventually, remove me. The office atmosphere changed again. People who had just started accepting my marriage suddenly became cautious. Some coworkers avoided conversations. Others looked at me with sympathy, and sympathy was dangerous because sympathy meant people thought you were losing. At 9:30 a.m. I received a meeting invitation, board strategy committee, mandatory. I walked into the room. This time, Victoria was already there, but something was different. She didn't look at me. Not once. I noticed immediately. Everyone noticed. The board members looked uncomfortable. Ryan looked satisfied. That was when I understood. This meeting wasn't just about my promotion to IT was a performance. Someone wanted everyone to see Victoria distancing herself from me. The chairman, Robert Hayes, started the meeting. Ethan, yes. We need to discuss recent events. I nodded. Go ahead. He looked at the documents. There are concerns about public perception. I almost smiled. Again, perception, not facts, not results. Perception. Robert continued. Your relationship with Victoria has created questions. I looked at him. Questions about what? Whether employees believe opportunities are distributed fairly. I nodded. So the concern is not my performance. He hesitated. The concern is trust. I looked around the room. Then at Victoria, still nothing. That bothered me. Not because I expected her to save me, because I knew she had a reason. Robert continued. Therefore, the board believes your promotion should be postponed. Ryan finally spoke. I think that's reasonable. Of course, he couldn't hide his satisfaction. I looked at him. Do you? Ryan smiled. Yes, why? Because this company needs stability. I nodded. Interesting, what? You questioned my abilities yesterday. Today you are protecting my career. Ryan's smile disappeared. I never questioned your abilities. I almost laughed. Really? You questioned whether my achievements were legitimate because of your marriage. I looked at him. And now you say you respect my work. He didn't answer. The chairman interrupted. Ethan. I looked at him. Do you have anything else to add? I could fight. I could argue. I could demand fairness. But something stopped me. Victoria, because she was still silent. And Victoria was never silent without a reason. So I simply said, no. The room became surprised. Ryan especially. He expected me to fight. Instead, I accepted. Not because I gave up, because I was watching. The meeting ended. My promotion was suspended. Officially. But unofficially, something much bigger had happened. The company had shown me who was willing to stand beside me, and who wasn't, when everyone left. Victoria remained. I waited. Finally, she looked at me. You are angry. I smiled. Shouldn't I be? She didn't answer. You let them suspend my promotion? Yes. I looked at her. You didn't defend me, no. That hurt more than I expected, because even though I understood strategy, I was still her husband. And for one moment, I wanted Victoria, not the CEO. She walked closer. Ethan, what? Did you really think I would let them take something from you without a reason? I stayed silent. She handed me a file. I opened it. Inside was a list. Names, dates, decisions. What is this? Everyone who benefited from unfair promotions in the last 5 years. I looked at her. She continued. Your promotion was delayed. Others will be reviewed. I understood. She wasn't losing. She was expanding the battlefield. But then I noticed something. One name appeared repeatedly. Ryan Blake. That my expression changed. How long have you known? Victoria looked at the file. About Ryan? Yes, 3 years. I froze. 3 years. She nodded. Then why didn't you remove him? Her answer was simple. Because he wasn't acting alone. The room went quiet. I looked at her. Who was helping him? Victoria didn't answer. Instead, she said, tomorrow, there will be a company announcement. What announcement? She looked at me. One that will make everyone think you lost. I frowned, and she stepped closer. And then they will make their biggest mistake. I stared at her. You're setting a trap, she smiled. Yes. For the first time that day, I felt calm, because I remembered something. Victoria Sterling never played defense. She didn't survive in business by reacting. She survived by controlling the game. But I didn't know how far she planned to go, and I didn't know that tomorrow, the entire company would believe I had been defeated because Victoria was about to make an announcement. That would shock everyone, including me. The next morning, Blackridge Capital received an announcement that changed everything. At 8 a.m. Every employee received the same email. No explanation. No warning. Just a company-wide message from the CEO. Subject: Leadership adjustment announcement. Everyone immediately knew something big had happened. At Blackridge. Company-wide emails from Victoria Sterling were rare. She didn't send motivational speeches. She didn't write long explanations. She believed actions mattered more than words. When everyone saw her name, people stopped what they were doing. I opened the email. The message was short, effective immediately. Ethan Carter will no longer participate in executive strategy decisions until the internal review is completed. I stared at the screen for a second. Even I was surprised. Then I kept reading. All responsibilities related to his current projects will be temporarily reassigned. That was it. No defense, no explanation. Nothing. The entire company thought one thing: that I had been removed. Within minutes, the rumors started. Did Ethan get suspended? Is he leaving? I knew something was wrong. The CEO can't protect him anymore. I walked through the office and heard every word. People didn't whisper because they hated me. Most of them didn't even know me. They whispered because uncertainty made people nervous. And when people were nervous, they believed the easiest explanation. Daniel found me near the elevators. Ethan, I looked at him. Don't. He stopped. You know something? I smiled slightly. I know, Victoria. Daniel sighed. That's not an answer. It is. He looked frustrated. Everyone thinks you lost. I know. Ryan is celebrating. I know. Then why are you so calm? I looked at the email again. Because if Victoria wanted me gone, I paused. She wouldn't need an announcement. Daniel understood. That was the difference. Victoria didn't remove people publicly. She removed them permanently if she wanted to destroy me. She wouldn't create rumors. She would simply end my career. But she didn't. She created a situation, and situations had purposes. The question was, what was she trying to expose? At noon, Ryan walked past my desk for the first time in days. He looked happy. Not fake happy, actually happy. He stopped. Ethan, I looked up. Ryan, how are you feeling? I almost laughed. Fine. He looked around. Must be difficult. What is? Watching everything you built disappear. I closed my laptop. Did it disappear? He smiled. Come on. He leaned closer. Let's be honest. You had a good run. I stared at him. He continued. But eventually, everyone finds out the truth. What truth? That you were never supposed to be here. The words were deliberate. He wanted me angry. He wanted me emotional. He wanted me to react. I didn't. I simply asked, are you finished? His smile faded. You really don't understand, do you? Understand what? People like you always think talent is enough. He tapped my desk. But companies don't run on talent. They run on power. I looked at him. And you think you have power? Ryan smiled. More than you do right now. Then he walked away. I watched him leave. And I finally understood. Ryan wasn't trying to win. He thought he had already won. That was dangerous. Because people who believe they are winning make mistakes. At 3 p.m. I received another message. From Victoria. Come upstairs. No explanation. I went to her office. When I entered, she was reviewing documents. She didn't look up. You handled that well. I sat down. You removed me from the company. She nodded. Yes. You could have warned me. No. I frowned. No. She finally looked at me. If I warned you, it wouldn't work. I leaned back. What exactly is it? She turned her monitor toward me. A live company communication system. On the screen were hundreds of employee messages. Not official messages. Internal discussions. Anonymous comments. I read them. Most were about me. Some defended me. Some questioned me. But then I noticed something. The negative comments were almost identical. Same wording. Same accusations. Same timing. I looked at Victoria. Someone is organizing this. She nodded. Exactly, Ryan. No. That surprised me. No. She shook her head. Ryan is too obvious. She pointed at the messages. Look. I studied them carefully. Then I noticed the language, the style, the way the complaints were written. This isn't Ryan. Victoria nodded. Someone else is guiding him. I felt a cold feeling. So Ryan is just a tool. Yes, for who? Victoria didn't answer. Instead, she opened another file. A list of executives. One name was highlighted. Margaret Sterling. I looked at it, then frowned. Your grandmother? Victoria nodded. Why is she on this list? Because she knows everything happening inside this company. I looked confused. You're saying your own grandmother might be involved? No. Victoria's expression changed. I'm saying someone is using information only my family should know. That was worse, because there were only a few people with access to Victoria's private information, people who knew about our marriage, people who knew about company politics, people who knew exactly how to hurt us. That I looked at her. How many people know we are married? Officially, yes, 3 who? You, me, me, and my grandmother. I nodded. Anyone else? Victoria was silent. That silence answered everything. Someone else knew. Someone had known for years, and they waited. The next question was obvious. Why? Before I could ask. Victoria's phone rang. She answered. Yes. A few seconds passed. Her expression changed. What? She stood up. Repeat that. I watched her carefully. Something serious happened. She ended the call. What happened? She looked at me. The board meeting tomorrow has been changed. Changed how? She hesitated, then said, they're not reviewing your promotion anymore. I frowned. Then what? She looked directly at me. They're voting on whether you should remain at Blackridge. The room became quiet. That I understood immediately. This wasn't a warning that IT was an execution. They weren't trying to delay me. They were trying to remove me. Victoria walked toward the window. For a moment, she looked exhausted. Then she turned back. Ethan, yes? Tomorrow. Do not defend yourself. I frowned. What? Don't explain. Don't argue. Don't ask for sympathy. I looked at her. Then what do I do? She answered. Destroy their argument. I smiled slightly. There she is. She looked at me. What? The CEO. For a second, she almost smiled. Then she became serious again. One more thing. What? Tomorrow's meeting will be recorded. Why? Because after tomorrow, she paused. The entire company will see who really tried to destroy you. I looked at her. And if we fail? Victoria didn't hesitate. We won't. That confidence was why I loved her. Not because she always won. Because she never entered a fight believing she could lose. The next morning, I walked into the boardroom. But something felt different. Everyone was there. Executives, board members, legal team, even shareholders. This wasn't a review. That IT was a trial. Ryan sat near the front, smiling. The chairman opened the meeting. Ethan Carter. I looked up. Yes, today. The board will decide whether your continued employment represents a risk to Blackridge Capital. The room was silent. Then Ryan spoke. I think everyone understands the situation. I looked at him. He smiled. And then he said the sentence he had been waiting to say. For the good of the company. A pause. Ethan should resign. For a few seconds. Nobody spoke after Ryan said those words. Ethan should resign. A simple sentence, 4 words. But everyone in that room understood what it meant. Ryan wasn't suggesting a change. That he wasn't recommending a review. He was asking me to disappear. The interesting thing about people like Ryan was that they always believed they were being reasonable. They never said that I want him gone because I'm threatened by him. They said that it's for the company. It's for stability. It's for everyone's benefit. Corporate language was just a cleaner way to hide ugly intentions. That I looked around the room. The board members, the executives, the legal team. Everyone was waiting for my reaction. They expected anger. They expected excuses. They expected me to defend myself. That I didn't. That I simply looked at Ryan. Are you done? His smile faded slightly. What? You made your point. I leaned back. So I'm asking if you're done. Ryan stared at me. That he wasn't used to people ignoring his performance. That he wanted me emotional. That he wanted me desperate. But desperation was exactly what I refused to give him. The chairman cleared his throat. Ethan, this isn't the time for confrontation. I nodded. You're right. Everyone looked surprised. That I continued. It's time for facts. The chairman looked at the documents. Then let's discuss facts. I smiled. Good. The screen behind me turned on. Nobody touched it, because Victoria had already arranged everything. The first slide appeared. Ethan Carter performance history. 6 years. Ryan's expression changed. Only slightly. But I saw it. He didn't expect me to present. He expected me to defend. Big difference. That I stood for 6 years. I have worked at Blackridge. I clicked. During that time, I led 11 major projects. The next slide appeared. 9 exceeded expectations. Another. 2 recovered from potential losses. Another. Total company value generated $640 million. The room became quiet. I continued. These results existed before anyone knew about my marriage. I looked around. So if the question is whether I earned my position, I paused. The answer is already available. Nobody spoke. Then Ryan interrupted. Numbers don't change the situation. I looked at him. What situation? Trust. He shook his head. You still don't understand. He stood. The issue is not whether you're talented. The issue is whether employees believe the system is fair. I nodded. That's your argument? Yes, I smiled. Then let's discuss fairness. I clicked another file. The screen changed. Ryan's name appeared. His expression immediately changed. What is this? I answered. Your promotion history. The room became tense. Ryan stared at the screen. I continued. You became vice president 3 years ago. Correct. Your promotion was approved after a recommendation from. I clicked. Thomas Reed. A board member frowned. Thomas? I nodded. Former executive board member. Ryan's face became uncomfortable. I continued. And Thomas Reed's consulting company received a $2.3 million contract from Blackridge 1 month after your promotion. Silence. The room changed. Because suddenly the discussion wasn't about me anymore. Ryan immediately said, "But that's unrelated, is it?" I looked at him. Then let's review. Another slide. 6 employees promoted during your management period. Another. 5 had previous connections with your department. Another. 3 received salary increases above company standards. Ryan's expression became colder. You investigated me? I smiled. No. I looked toward Victoria. She did. Everyone turned. Victoria had been silent the entire meeting. Until now, she stood. I didn't investigate Ryan. She looked at the board. I investigated the entire promotion system. The room froze, because that was different. She wasn't attacking Ryan. She was exposing the entire structure. Victoria continued. For months, I noticed inconsistent promotion patterns. People with average results received leadership positions. People with exceptional results remained unchanged. Her eyes moved toward me. Ethan was one of those people. I didn't speak, because that was the first time she admitted it publicly. She had known. She had seen it. She knew I was being overlooked, and she stayed silent. Not because she didn't care. Because she was collecting evidence. The chairman looked serious. Victoria, why didn't you report this earlier? Because accusations without proof create chaos. She looked at Ryan. Proof creates consequences. Nobody moved. Ryan finally lost his calm. This is ridiculous, he stood. You're turning this into a personal attack. Victoria looked at him. No. This stopped being personal when you tried to destroy an employee's reputation. Ryan laughed. Employee? He pointed at me. He's your husband. Victoria's expression became cold. And you are exactly why this company has problems. Everyone looked at her. She continued. You believe relationships define people. You believe power matters more than ability. You believe someone like Ethan cannot succeed unless someone helps him. She walked closer. That's because you don't understand excellence. The room was silent. Then Ryan said something unexpected. Fine. He looked at me. You want facts? Let's use facts. He pulled out a document. I have proof Ethan was involved in another issue. My expression didn't change, but inside, I became alert. Ryan smiled. Project Avalon. Several executives reacted because Project Avalon was one of Blackridge's biggest upcoming investments. What about it? Ryan placed the document down. Ethan secretly changed the investment strategy without executive approval. The room became tense. I looked at the document. IT was new. Too new. Ryan continued. But he made decisions outside his authority. The chairman looked at me. Is this true? I didn't answer immediately, because I knew what was happening. The financial accusation failed. The promotion attack failed. Now he created a new battlefield. Authority, responsibility, decision-making. He wasn't trying to prove I was corrupt anymore. He was trying to prove I was reckless. I looked at Ryan. Where did you get this? He smiled. From internal records. Which records? Project files. Who had access? He paused. Only for a moment, but enough. I noticed. I looked at Victoria. She noticed too. I walked toward the screen. Before anyone makes a decision, I clicked. A different file appeared. Project Avalon. Original approval chain. Everyone watched. I pointed. This is the official authorization. Then another file. This is the modified version Ryan presented. The room went silent. I continued. Someone edited the document. Ryan's face changed. What? I looked at him. The same technique. Different file. Same mistake. The chairman frowned. Explain. I zoomed in. The person editing this document changed the formatting. I looked at Ryan. Again. Nobody spoke, Because everyone remembered the previous fake signature incident. The same person, the same method, the same mistake. Someone was creating evidence, and now they had made a mistake twice. Victoria walked toward the screen. Then she looked at the board. There's something everyone should know. He pressed a button. The next file appeared. Access records. The room went completely silent because the name on the access log was not Ryan. Not me. Not Victoria.it was someone unexpected, someone who had no reason to touch Project Avalon. The chairman stood. What is this? Victoria answered calmly. The person who created these documents, a pause, was using a board member's account. Everyone turned. The atmosphere changed instantly because this was no longer an employee fight. Someone at the highest level of Blackridge was involved. Ryan looked confused as I watched his face, and for the first time, I realized something, that he wasn't pretending, he was actually surprised. Which meant one thing. Ryan wasn't the mastermind, he was another victim. The meeting was immediately suspended. Everyone left with questions, but before I walked out, Victoria stopped me. Ethan, yes? She looked serious. Now we know what? Why they wanted us distracted. I waited, she said. Because while everyone was watching your marriage, she looked toward the boardroom. Someone was stealing control of Blackridge. I froze, because suddenly everything connected. The rumors, the attacks, the fake documents, the attempt to remove me. None of it was the real goal, that I was just the distraction. The real target was the company itself. And whoever was behind this had planned it for years. But they made one mistake. They underestimated me. They thought I was only the CEO's husband. They forgot something. Before I became Victoria Sterling's husband, I was Ethan Carter, and I knew exactly how to fight back. For 3 years, everyone at Blackridge Capital believed I was hiding my marriage. Nobody knew the truth. The biggest secret inside the company wasn't my relationship with Victoria.it, was the person who had been secretly moving pieces around the board. The attacks against me were never random. The rumors, the fake documents, the promotion suspension, the attempt to remove me, they were all connected. And now we finally knew why. Someone wanted control of Blackridge. I sat in Victoria's office after the emergency board meeting ended for almost 10 minutes. Neither of us spoke, not because we didn't have questions, because we had too many. Finally, I looked at her. How long? Victoria looked up. What? How long have you suspected someone inside the company? She didn't avoid the question. 6 months. I frowned. 6 months? She nodded. And you didn't tell me? I didn't want you involved. I almost laughed. Victoria? She looked at me. I was already involved. I know. Someone tried to destroy my career. I know. Someone tried to make me look like a criminal. I know. I leaned forward. So why did you keep me outside? For a moment, her expression changed. Not CEO Victoria, just my wife. Because I knew you would fight. I didn't answer, she continued. And I didn't want you fighting a battle you couldn't see. That sentence made me quiet, because she was right that I had spent years solving problems. But this wasn't a normal project. This wasn't a failed strategy. This was a hidden war. The enemy wasn't standing in front of me. They were sitting beside me, watching, waiting. I looked at the files on her desk. The board member, Victoria, nodded. Charles Whitmore. I knew the name. Everyone did. Charles had been on the Blackridge board for 15 years. That he was considered one of the company's founding supporters. Investors trusted him. Employees respected him, which made him dangerous. People never suspected someone who looked loyal. Do you think he's behind everything? Victoria shook her head. No. I looked at her. No. Charles is involved, she corrected. But he's not the person controlling this. I frowned. Then who is? Victoria didn't answer. Instead, she opened another file. Inside was a list of financial movements. I scanned it. These are company accounts. Yes. Why are you showing me this? Because someone has been preparing to move ownership. I looked closer. Then I saw it. Small transactions, repeated transfers, hidden through different companies. Someone had been slowly buying influence. Someone wants shares. Victoria nodded. Not just shares. She pointed at the document. Control. I understood that if someone collected enough voting power, they could challenge Victoria's position, even remove her. This has been happening for years. Yes. Why didn't anyone notice? Victoria smiled slightly. Because they were looking at big moves. She pointed at the small transactions. The person behind this understood something. What? People notice explosions. They don't notice small fires. I looked at the files. The strategy was actually impressive, slow, patient, almost invisible. Then I thought about Ryan. What about him? Victoria looked at me. Ryan? Yes, he's involved, but not the mastermind, no. I leaned back. So what is he? Victoria answered. A weapon. That was exactly right. Ryan had ambition. He wanted power. Someone gave him a direction, and he followed. The question was, who convinced him? At that moment, my phone rang. Unknown number. I looked at Victoria. She nodded. Answer. I picked up. Hello. A voice came through. Ethan Carter. I immediately recognized it. Ryan. What do you want? A pause. Then, talk. I almost refused, but something about his voice stopped me. Ryan sounded different, not arrogant, not confident, tired. About what? About the person who destroyed my career. I frowned. What? He lowered his voice. Meet me, no? Ethan. His tone became serious. You think I'm your enemy. Am I wrong? Silence. Then Ryan said, No? That surprised me, but I'm not the person you should be fighting. I looked at Victoria. She was already paying attention. When? Tonight. Where? He gave me an address, then added, Come alone. The call ended. Victoria looked at me. You shouldn't go alone. I know. Then why did you say nothing? Because if someone is watching Ryan. I looked at the phone. They might reveal themselves. Victoria understood immediately. You're using him as bait. I smiled. I learned from you. She wasn't amused. Ethan, what? This isn't a game. I know. Ryan is dangerous. So are we. She looked at me. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she sighed. You really are my husband. I smiled. Is that a compliment? No. A pause. It's a warning. That night, I met Ryan and he looked nothing like the man from the office. No expensive confidence. No arrogant smile. Just exhaustion. He sat across from me. I assume you hate me. I looked at him. I don't waste energy on hate. He laughed bitterly. Of course. What? That's why you beat me. I said nothing. Ryan looked down. I thought I was smarter than everyone. You weren't. I know. That honesty surprised me. He continued. I thought I was finally getting what I deserved. What did they promise you? His expression changed. They said I would become CEO. I froze. Who? Ryan didn't answer immediately. Then he said, Someone who knew exactly what I wanted. I leaned forward. Who? Ryan looked at me and said the name I didn't expect. Your wife's brother. I froze, because Victoria had never mentioned having a brother. Not once, for several seconds. I thought I had misunderstood him. Say that again. Ryan looked at me. Victoria's brother. I stared at him. Victoria doesn't have a brother. Ryan's expression changed. She never told you? That question hit harder than the information itself, because Victoria and I had shared almost everything. At least. I thought we had. I knew her habits. I knew what made her angry. I knew what made her laugh. I knew the things nobody else in the company knew. But there were still parts of her life she kept locked away. And apparently, one of those parts was a brother. Who is he? Ryan looked uncomfortable. Adrian Sterling. The name meant nothing to me, but the way Ryan said it told me everything. This wasn't just some family member. This was someone dangerous. Start from the beginning. Ryan took a deep breath. 6 months ago, Adrian contacted me. Why you? Because he knew I wanted power. I didn't interrupt. Ryan continued. He knew I hated being second. Second to who? He looked at me. Everyone. That answer was honest. I spent years watching people like you get opportunities. I raised an eyebrow. People like me? People who actually deserve them. He looked away. I knew I was good, but I also knew I wasn't the best. I said nothing, because for the first time, Ryan wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was admitting something. Adrian had found his weakness. What did he offer? Power, specifically. Your position. I frowned. My position? Ryan nodded. He told me Victoria would never let you fail. He said no matter how talented you were, you would always be protected. I laughed quietly. Interesting. What? He was wrong. Ryan looked confused. About what? Victoria didn't protect me. I looked at him. She challenged me. That was something nobody understood. People thought Victoria made my life easier. They were wrong. She made me better. She never gave me shortcuts. She never handed me opportunities. She pushed me to earn them. Ryan looked at me. I know that now. I leaned forward. What else did Adrian tell you? Ryan hesitated, then answered. He said once you were removed, Victoria would lose support. Why? Because the board would believe she couldn't control the company. I understood. Adrian wasn't attacking me. He was using me to weaken Victoria. The fake accusations, the rumors, the promotion issue. Everything was designed to create doubt. If employees questioned me, investors questioned Victoria. If investors questioned Victoria, The board could replace her. It was a perfect plan. Almost. Because Adrian made one mistake that he underestimated how strong Victoria and I were together. Where's Adrian now? Ryan shook his head. I don't know. You're lying. I'm not. I watched his face that he wasn't. Ryan was many things. Arrogant, ambitious, reckless. But he wasn't a good liar. Then why are you telling me this? He looked at me. Because he betrayed me too. I stayed silent. Ryan smiled bitterly. He promised me CEO, and he never planned to give me anything. What happened? Ryan looked angry. He needed me to create chaos. Once the board started investigating Victoria, he paused. I became useless. I understood. Adrian didn't need Ryan anymore. The weapon had served its purpose. He discarded it. A familiar corporate story. People with power rarely cared about the people they used. I stood. One more question. Ryan looked up. What? Why should I believe you? He didn't answer immediately. Then he pulled out his phone. I recorded him. I looked at him. What? Every conversation. Why? Ryan smiled sadly. Because I'm arrogant. A pause. But I'm not stupid. He unlocked his phone. There were several recordings, dates, times, messages, everything. I took the phone. Then I stopped. Because suddenly I understood. This was bigger than revenge. Ryan wasn't helping me because he became a good person. He was helping me because he wanted to survive. But that didn't matter. Information was information. And this information could destroy Adrian. When I returned home, Victoria was waiting. She immediately knew something happened. You found something. I nodded, then said, you have a brother. Her expression changed, only for a second, but I saw it. Pain. Not surprise. Pain. That told me she knew exactly who I meant. Adrian. I nodded. Why didn't you tell me? She was silent. Then she sat down, for the first time in years. I saw Victoria hesitate. I thought he was gone. Gone where? Out of my life. I waited. She looked at me. Adrian and I grew up differently. I listened. He believed our family name gave him the right to everything. And you? I believed I had to earn everything. That sounded exactly like her. He hated that. Why? Because my father chose me to lead Sterling Holdings. She paused. Not him. I understood. Sibling rivalry. But at a much higher level. What happened between you? Victoria looked down. Adrian tried to take control of the company. When? 5 years ago, and he failed. Then he disappeared. I looked at her. Until now. She nodded. The room became quiet. Then I asked, why didn't you tell me? She didn't answer immediately. Finally, she said, because I was afraid. That surprised me. Victoria Sterling, afraid. Of him? She shook her head. Of what he would do if he knew about you. I understood. Adrian wasn't attacking Victoria alone. He was attacking the one person who mattered to her. I walked closer. Victoria. She looked at me. You should have trusted me. I know. I can handle this. I know. Then why hide it? Her voice became softer. Because I spent my entire life fighting my family. She looked at me. I didn't want you to become another battlefield. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Because that wasn't the CEO talking. That was my wife. The woman who always looked impossible to break. The woman who carried everything alone. I sat beside her. You're not fighting alone anymore. She looked at me. You know Adrian is dangerous. Yes, he has money. Yes, he has connections. Yes, he will come after everything. I nodded. Then he should have thought carefully before touching my wife. For the first time that night, Victoria smiled. A small smile, but real. The next morning, we prepared our counterattack. Ryan's recordings, the access logs, the financial movements, everything that we had enough to expose Adrian. But before we could act, someone else moved first at 10 a.m. Every employee received another company announcement. This time, it wasn't from Victoria. It wasn't from HR. It was from the board. The message had only one sentence. Victoria Sterling has been removed as CEO of Blackridge Capital pending investigation. I stared at the screen. My hands tightened. Because I finally understood. Adrian wasn't trying to defeat us slowly anymore. He was done hiding. He had made his move. And now, it was our turn. The first thing I did after reading the announcement was laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. After everything that happened, after all the fake documents, after all the attacks, after all the lies, Adrian Sterling had finally stopped hiding. He had taken the one step he thought would end everything. He removed Victoria, the CEO, the person who built Blackridge into what it was, the person who spent years protecting the company. The person everyone believed was impossible to defeat, and Adrian thought removing her meant victory, that he was wrong. Because he made the same mistake everyone else made, that he thought Victoria was the source of power. She wasn't. She was the person who created it. And now he was about to discover what happened when he pushed the wrong people too far. I looked at Victoria. She was sitting across from me, reading the announcement. Her expression was calm. Too calm. That worried me more than anger would have. Say something. She didn't look up. About what? I pointed at the screen. They removed you. She nodded. I know, and you're calm. Yes. I stared at her. Victoria. She finally looked at me. Ethan, your company just took your position. She nodded. My position? Not my company. Not my power, just my position. That difference mattered, because Victoria never defined herself by a title. She was Victoria Sterling before she became CEO, and she would still be Victoria Sterling without it. I sat down. What is your plan? She looked at me. Same as yours. I smiled slightly. Which is? Find the person who thinks they won and show them they were wrong. That was the woman I married that moment. My phone rang. Ryan. I answered. What? His voice came immediately. They did it. I know, no? His voice was tense. They did more than remove Victoria. I frowned. What do you mean? The board voted to freeze several accounts. What accounts? Strategic investment accounts. I stood. Why? Because Adrian wants control of company finances before anyone can challenge him. I looked at Victoria. She understood immediately. He isn't just taking the CEO position. She said quietly. He is trying to take ownership. Exactly. The CEO position was only the first step. Control the money. Control the board. Control the information. Then nobody could stop him. I asked Ryan. How many board members support him? 4. How many against? 3. I calculated quickly. Not enough? Ryan answered. Not yet. That phrase mattered. Not yet. Because Adrian wasn't finished. He needed one more thing. A public victory. He needed employees and investors to believe Victoria had failed. That was how power worked. People followed winners. Even fake winners. I ended the call. Victoria looked at me. We need to move quickly. I nodded. Agreed. What do we have? Ryan's recordings. Not enough. The access records. Not enough. The financial transfers. She shook her head. Still not enough? I frowned. Why? Because Adrian planned this carefully. She walked toward the table. He didn't create one way to win. He created several. I understood. Even if we exposed him for manipulating Ryan, he could claim Ryan acted alone. Even if we exposed financial movements, he could claim they were legal investments. Even if we exposed board manipulation, he could claim he was protecting the company. That we needed something stronger, something impossible to explain. Then I remembered something. Wait. Victoria looked at me. What? Adrian wanted me removed? Yes, but why me? She didn't answer. Because we both knew. There was something Adrian feared. Not my position. Not my relationship with Victoria. That I had been involved in too many major projects. That I knew too much. That I had access to information. That I wasn't just Victoria's husband. I was someone who could expose him. What if I'm not the distraction? Victoria looked at me. What do you mean? What if Adrian wasn't trying to destroy me because I'm close to you? I paused. What if he was trying to remove me because I'm the only person who could find him? Victoria went silent, then slowly nodded. That changes everything. Yes. I opened my laptop. I started reviewing every project Adrian had touched. Not directly. Indirectly. Consultants. Partners. Investments. Connections. Then I found something. A name. A company. A pattern. Victoria. She came closer. What? Look. She read the information. Her expression changed because she recognized it. This company. Yes. Was supposed to disappear. I looked at her. Explain. She sat down. 5 years ago. Adrian invested in a technology company. Was it successful? No. Then why does it matter? Because the company was used to move money. I stared at the screen. So he learned this years ago. Victoria nodded. He has been preparing. Not months. Years. Suddenly everything made sense. The patience. The hidden transactions. The slow accumulation of power. Adrian wasn't someone who attacked suddenly. He was someone who built a trap and waited. I looked at Victoria. Your brother is terrifying. She nodded. Yes, but he made one mistake. What? He thought patience makes him unbeatable. Victoria looked at me. And I smiled. People who plan for years usually believe they can't lose. That was their weakness. They became too confident, too comfortable. They forgot someone else was watching. A few hours later. Ryan arrived at Victoria's private office. He looked uncomfortable that I almost didn't recognize him. This was the same man who had mocked me days ago, the same man who tried to destroy me. Now he looked like someone who had lost everything. Victoria looked at him. "Why are you here?" Ryan didn't avoid her eyes. "Because I made a mistake." She said nothing, but he continued. "I thought power meant standing above everyone." He looked at me. "I was wrong." I crossed my arms. "Why should we trust you?" He nodded. "You shouldn't." That answer surprised me. Ryan continued. "But you need me." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Adrian doesn't trust anyone." Ryan placed a folder on the table. "Not even me." I opened it. Inside were documents. Real documents. Not fake ones that I looked through them. My expression changed. Because this wasn't just evidence. This was a map. A complete map of Adrian's plan. Ryan looked at us. "I spent 6 months helping him. I know every step." Victoria looked at him. "Why give this to us?" Ryan was quiet for a moment, then answered, "Because when he wins," he looked down, "I won't be one of the people standing beside him." A pause. "I'll be one of the people he destroys." I looked at Victoria. She understood. Adrian didn't create partners, he created tools. And tools were disposable. I closed the folder. "Fine." Ryan looked up. "What?" "You help us." Victoria looked at me. "Ethan." I nodded. "I know." She understood what I meant, that we weren't forgiving Ryan, that we were using the information he had. There was a difference. I looked at the documents again. Then I saw the final page. My expression changed. Because at the bottom was something I never expected. A signature. Not Adrian's. Not Ryan's. Someone else's. Someone inside Blackridge. Someone who had been helping Adrian from the beginning. And when I saw the name, I realized the betrayal was much deeper than we thought. Because the person behind everything was someone Victoria trusted completely. I stared at the signature for almost a full minute. The name at the bottom of the document didn't make sense. It couldn't be real. Not because the evidence was unclear, because the person behind that signature was the last person I expected. Victoria noticed my expression. "What?" I didn't answer immediately. I turned the document toward her. Her eyes moved down, then stopped. For the first time since I met her, Victoria Sterling looked completely shocked. "No." One word. Quiet. Almost impossible to hear. I looked at her. "You know this person?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her reaction told me everything. "Victoria." She looked away. "It's impossible. Who is it?" A long pause. Then she said the name. "Sarah Mitchell." I frowned. The name sounded familiar. Then I remembered. Sarah Mitchell. Blackridge's chief operating officer, Victoria's closest executive partner. The person who had worked beside her for 8 years. The person everyone believed was loyal to Victoria. The person who handled internal operations, including access, including documents, including information. I looked back at the signature. "Your COO?" Victoria nodded slowly. "Yes." I didn't say anything, because suddenly the entire situation became clear. Adrian couldn't have done everything alone. Someone had to help him. Someone needed access to internal systems. Someone needed to manipulate documents. Someone needed to influence employees. Sarah wasn't just a helper. She was the person standing closest to Victoria, and sometimes, the closest person was the most dangerous. Ryan watched us carefully. "I told you." Victoria looked at him. "What?" "Adrian doesn't attack from outside." Ryan's voice was low. "He gets inside first." The room became silent. I looked at Victoria. "How long has Sarah worked with you?" 8 years. "Did you trust her?" She didn't answer. That was answer enough. I understood something important. The reason this hurt Victoria wasn't because Sarah betrayed the company. It was because Sarah betrayed her. Not as CEO. As a person. But Victoria didn't allow herself to fall apart. She stood. "Where is Sarah now?" Ryan checked his phone. "Still at headquarters." "Good." I looked at her. "You're going there?" "Yes." "Not alone." She looked at me. "Ethan, no." She raised an eyebrow. I continued. "You told me before not to fight alone." A small pause. "Now I'm telling you the same thing." For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she nodded. "Fine." Ryan looked surprised. "You trust me enough to bring me?" I looked at him. "No." He nodded. "Fair, but I trust information." That was the difference. We weren't friends, we weren't allies, we had a common enemy. That was enough. When we returned to Blackridge headquarters, everything had changed. The company atmosphere was completely different. Before, employees worried about rumors. Now they were worried about leadership. Everyone knew Victoria had been removed. Everyone knew Adrian was making changes. The problem was nobody knew why. That was exactly what Adrian wanted: confusion. People who were confused didn't resist. They waited, and waiting gave him control. As we entered the executive floor, Sarah was already waiting. That surprised me. She stood near the conference room, calm, professional, almost like she expected us. Victoria stopped. Sarah. Sarah smiled. Victoria, no apology. No fear. Nothing. That told me something. She wasn't caught. She was prepared. Victoria looked at her. How long? Sarah tilted her head. What? How long have you been working with Adrian? The smile disappeared. Only slightly. But enough. I don't know what you're talking about. I almost laughed at a person who worked beside Victoria for 8 years should know better. Victoria didn't accuse without proof. She wouldn't ask unless she already knew. I stepped forward. Your signature is on the documents. Sarah looked at me, then smiled. Ethan, her tone changed. You really think you understand what's happening? I didn't answer. She continued. You think this is about Adrian, isn't it? No. She shook her head. This is about Victoria. Victoria's expression hardened. Explain. Sarah looked at her. You built this company by trusting nobody. A pause. Except me. The words were intentional. Sarah wasn't defending herself. She was attacking. She wanted Victoria to feel responsible. Victoria remained calm. You betrayed me. Sarah laughed softly. No, I saved you. Everyone went silent. Even Ryan looked confused. Sarah continued. You think you built Blackridge, but you inherited power. Victoria's eyes narrowed. My father built this company. Exactly. Sarah smiled. And you think you earned everything after that? That was when I understood. This wasn't just greed. It was resentment. Sarah had spent years standing beside Victoria, watching her become CEO, watching everyone praise her, and somewhere along the way, she decided she deserved the same recognition. People rarely became traitors overnight. They justified it slowly. A little jealousy, a little anger, a little resentment. Until one day they convinced themselves betrayal was fairness. Victoria looked at her. So you helped Adrian because you believe you deserve my position. Sarah didn't answer. That was the answer. I stepped forward. You made one mistake. Sarah looked at me. What? You chose Adrian. Her expression changed. I continued. People like him don't share power. Sarah smiled. You don't know him. I know people like him. I looked at Ryan. And so does he. Ryan looked away. Because he knew I was right. Sarah's expression became colder. You think you won? No. I shook my head. I think you made yourself visible. That was the difference the entire time. They believed they were invisible, untouchable, but now they had exposed themselves. Sarah looked at Victoria. You still don't understand. What? Adrian already has enough votes. Victoria's face changed. Sarah smiled. Tomorrow, the shareholders will vote. And when they do, she paused. Victoria Sterling will no longer have control of Blackridge. Then she walked away. Nobody stopped her, because we didn't need to. We had something better. Evidence. But as soon as she left, Ryan looked worried. Ethan, what? There's a problem. What problem? He looked at Victoria. Adrian knows about the recordings. The room went silent. I frowned. How? Ryan swallowed. Because he contacted me. When? 10 minutes ago. Victoria immediately asked. What did he say? Ryan looked at me, then answered. He said. A pause. He doesn't care if we expose him. That didn't make sense. Unless he has another plan. Ryan nodded. He said something else. What? Ryan looked serious. He said the evidence doesn't matter because tomorrow he will reveal something that will destroy Ethan. I frowned. Me? Ryan nodded. Yes. What could he possibly have? Nobody answered. Because the truth was, I didn't know that I had spent years building my reputation, that I had never taken shortcuts, I had never betrayed the company, that I had nothing to hide. At least, I thought I didn't. That night, Victoria and I went through every document related to me, every project, every decision, every approval. Nothing. Until we found one file. A file I hadn't opened in years. My original employment record. Victoria looked at the date. Then her expression changed. Ethan, what? She pointed at the document. This isn't right. I looked closer. What? She looked at me. Your first year at Blackridge. I nodded. What about it? She whispered. You weren't hired by Blackridge. I froze. What? She turned the document toward me. At the bottom was an old approval signature. Not from HR. Not from recruitment. From the board. And beside it was a name I had never seen before. A name connected to Adrian. Victoria looked at me. Ethan, someone has been controlling your career. She paused. Since the day you entered this company. I stared at the document. suddenly. Everything changed. The rumors, the attacks, the obsession with removing me. Maybe Adrian wasn't trying to destroy me because I was Victoria's husband. Maybe he was trying to destroy me because he knew something about me. Something even I didn't know. And tomorrow, the entire company was going to find out. For 6 years. I believed I knew exactly how I got into Blackridge Capital. I applied, I interviewed, I proved myself, that I worked harder than everyone else. That was the story I told myself. That IT was the story everyone believed. But that night, sitting across from Victoria and staring at the document that changed everything, I realized something terrifying. The story of my career was incomplete. Victoria held the document in her hand. Her expression was different, not angry, not shocked, calculating. That was how I knew this mattered. Victoria didn't panic. She analyzed. And right now, she was analyzing me. What? I asked. She looked up. Do you remember your first interview at Blackridge? I nodded. Of course, what happened? I frowned. Why are you asking? Answer. I thought back. Standard interview. Who interviewed you? I paused. HR first, and after. The strategy department director? Anyone else? I shook my head. Not that I remember. Victoria looked at the document again. That's impossible. Why? Because your hiring approval wasn't completed by HR. She turned the paper toward me. It was approved by the board. I looked at the signature. A board approval 6 years ago, before I had any position, before I had any influence, before I had any connection to Victoria. Who signed this? Victoria pointed. I read the name. Adrian Sterling. My expression changed. No. Victoria watched me. You never met him? No. Never spoke to him? No. Never knew he existed? Not until yesterday. That was the truth. But the document said something else. According to the records, Adrian had personally approved my entry into Blackridge. Why? That question bothered me more than the attacks. Because attacks had a reason. Power, money, control. But this started before I even mattered. Victoria sat down. Ethan, I looked at her. There is something you need to understand. What? Adrian doesn't do anything without a reason. I nodded. So why did he bring me into Blackridge? She didn't answer, because she didn't know, and that bothered her. A-L-O-T-A-T that moment. My phone received a notification. An emergency broadcast. From Blackridge. Victoria and I looked at each other. The shareholder meeting wasn't supposed to happen until tomorrow. Something had changed. I opened the message. Emergency shareholder communication. 9:00 am. Attached was a video. Adrian. I clicked. His face appeared on the screen. Calm, confident. Like someone who already owned the company. Good evening, Blackridge shareholders. His voice was smooth, professional, almost impossible to dislike. That was dangerous. People like Adrian didn't look like villains. They looked like leaders. I understand many of you have questions regarding recent changes. He paused. Today, I want to provide transparency. I almost laughed. Transparency. That word again. People who plan secrets loved using that word. Adrian continued. Recent investigations have revealed serious concerns regarding internal management. The screen changed. My name appeared. I felt my expression change. Victoria noticed. Stay calm. I nodded. Adrian continued. One individual has created significant conflict within the company. He was talking about me. An employee whose rapid rise has raised questions. The video showed my career history, projects, promotions, achievements, but the information was edited. Carefully, he removed everything positive, only showing moments that could create doubt. He entered Blackridge through unusual circumstances. The screen changed. My hiring document appeared, the same one we found. Adrian's signature. 6 years ago. Ethan Carter was personally approved by a board member. He paused. Without normal recruitment procedures. The comments started appearing online. People were already reacting. Adrian continued. The question is simple. Why? The video ended. I stared at the screen. He didn't accuse me directly. That was smarter. He created suspicion. He gave people a question, and questions were often more powerful than accusations. Victoria looked at me. He's trying to control the story. I nodded. Yes? He wants people to believe you were placed here. Not because of ability, because of influence. I understood. The same strategy. Different angle. Before. He's CEO's husband. Now. He's someone chosen by hidden power. Either way. He wanted people to doubt me. I looked at Victoria. What do we do? She answered immediately. We stopped defending. I frowned. What? She looked at me. We attack. That was the first time she said it. Not protect, not respond. Attack. The next morning, Blackridge held the shareholder meeting. This time, every major investor attended. Adrian entered first, confident. Sarah followed. Ryan sat on our side. That alone shocked people. Yesterday, he was my enemy. Today, he was sitting beside me. Adrian noticed. His expression changed. Only slightly. But I saw it. He didn't expect Ryan to betray him. Good. The chairman opened the meeting. Today we discuss leadership control of Blackridge Capital. Adrian stood. I believe shareholders deserve stability. He looked toward me. Not uncertainty. I almost smiled that he loved that word. That uncertainty to it was his favorite weapon. That he continued. Blackridge cannot move forward while questions remain. Then he looked at the shareholders. I recommend removing Ethan Carter from all strategic authority. A few shareholders nodded that he had prepared them. Then Victoria stood. Everyone became quiet, because this was the moment. The woman who had been removed, the CEO who was supposedly defeated. She looked at Adrian, then at everyone else. I have one question. Adrian smiled. Of course. Victoria pointed at the screen. Why are you so interested in Ethan? The room went silent. Adrian didn't react. I already explained no. Victoria shook her head. You explained what you wanted people to believe. She walked forward. But you never explained the truth. Adrian's smile disappeared slightly. What truth? Victoria looked at me, then back at him. The reason you personally approved Ethan Carter's hiring 6 years ago. The room changed instantly, because nobody expected that. Adrian's expression finally changed, just for a moment. But enough, everyone saw it. And that was the first mistake he made. That he reacted. Victoria noticed. So did I. She continued. 6 years ago. Before Ethan had any connection to me. She paused. You selected him. Adrian stayed silent. The shareholders started whispering. Victoria looked at him. So the question isn't why Ethan was hired. The question is, why were you watching him before anyone knew who he was? The room exploded, because now the suspicion moved. From me to him. Adrian's perfect plan had one weakness. He knew my secret. But he forgot something. He had secrets too. And Victoria was about to uncover them. The room became completely silent after Victoria's question. It was the kind of silence that only happened when people realized the story they were hearing was not the story they were supposed to hear. For days, Adrian had controlled the narrative. That he decided what people discussed. He decided who looked guilty. He decided who looked suspicious. First, it was me, then Victoria, then Ryan. But now, for the first time, people were looking at him. And Adrian hated that. Because people like him could handle pressure, they could handle enemies, but they couldn't handle losing control. The chairman looked at Adrian. Is there an explanation? Adrian didn't answer immediately. That was unusual. That a man who always had a response suddenly needed time. That alone created doubt. Finally, he smiled. Of course, he looked around. I think everyone is misunderstanding the situation. Victoria crossed her arms. Then explain. Adrian nodded. 6 years ago. I reviewed Ethan Carter's profile. I watched him carefully. I noticed his potential. He paused. That's all. A few shareholders nodded. It was a reasonable explanation. Almost too reasonable. Adrian continued. Blackridge has always invested in talented people, so I approved his hiring. He looked at me. That doesn't mean anything. I smiled slightly. Really? His eyes moved toward me. I stood. Then answer one question. The room became quiet again. Adrian looked at me. What? Why did you approve my hiring personally? He answered immediately. Because I saw potential. I nodded. Then why did you never meet me? A pause, small, but everyone noticed. I continued. Why did you never interview me? Why did you never contact me? Why did you never mention this approval? Adrian's expression became colder. Because it wasn't necessary. I smiled. Exactly. The shareholders started whispering again. Because that was the problem. If he truly believed I was special, why did he hide it? Why secretly approve my entry? Why watch from a distance? Victoria stepped forward. Adrian. He looked at her. You have spent the last few weeks trying to convince everyone Ethan's success was suspicious. She pointed toward the document. But you are the person who created that opportunity. She paused. So answer this. Did you believe Ethan was talented? Adrian stayed silent. Or did you need him inside Blackridge for another reason? The question hit. Because now everyone understood. This wasn't about whether I deserved my career. It was about why Adrian had been interested in me before anyone else. Ryan stood. I know the answer. Everyone looked at him. Adrian's expression changed immediately. Ryan ignored him. I didn't understand at first. He walked toward the screen. But after working with Adrian, I realized something. He looked at the shareholders. He wasn't interested in Ethan's career. He was interested in Ethan's position. The chairman frowned. What does that mean? Ryan opened his laptop. A document appeared. I was told to remove Ethan. A pause. But I was never told why. The next document appeared. Until I found this. The screen showed communication records, messages, dates, names. That Adrian's name appeared repeatedly. The room became tense. Adrian immediately stood. This proves nothing. Ryan nodded. You're right. By itself. It doesn't. Then he opened another file. This does. A financial record appeared. A transfer. A hidden company. A connection. The shareholders became quiet. Ryan continued. Adrian created a private investment network 5 years ago through several companies. He moved funds quietly. I looked at Victoria. She already knew. This was the missing piece. The money trail. The reason Adrian needed control. The reason he needed the CEO position. Ryan continued. But he needed someone inside Blackridge. The screen changed. A list appeared. Executives, employees, contacts, then one name. Mine. Everyone froze. My name was there. I frowned. What is this? Ryan looked at me. Adrian was tracking you before you joined Blackridge. The room became silent. Again, I looked at Adrian. He didn't deny it. That bothered me, because denial would have been expected, but he didn't. He just watched, like someone waiting for the right moment. Victoria noticed too. Why, Ethan? Adrian finally spoke. His voice was calm, almost too calm, because he was the only person who could challenge you. Everyone looked confused, including me. What? Adrian looked at me. You still don't know? Do you? I felt something change. What are you talking about? He smiled. The reason I approved your hiring. He looked at Victoria. The reason I watched you. A pause. Because Ethan Carter was never supposed to be an ordinary employee. The room became silent. My expression changed. What does that mean? Adrian walked closer. It means your career at Blackridge wasn't an accident. I stared at him. Explain. He smiled. I don't think Victoria ever told you. My eyes moved toward her, and for the first time, Victoria looked uncertain. That scared me, because Victoria was never uncertain. Victoria? She didn't answer. Adrian continued. 6 years ago, before you joined Blackridge, he looked at the shareholders. There was a decision that changed the future of this company. I watched Victoria carefully. What decision? Adrian looked at her. Tell him. The room became silent. Victoria closed her eyes for a second, then opened them. Ethan, I waited. You weren't recruited because Adrian chose you. I frowned. Then why? Her voice was quiet. Because I did. The room disappeared for a moment. I stared at her. What? Victoria looked at me. 6 years ago. I found your work, my work. She nodded. You created an independent market analysis model. I remembered a project from before Blackridge, something I did alone, something nobody knew about. I saw it. Victoria continued. And I knew you were different. I didn't speak. She looked away. But I wasn't CEO yet. So I asked Adrian to approve your hiring. Everything suddenly made sense. Adrian didn't discover me. Victoria did. But why hide it? Why let everyone believe I earned everything randomly? Why let me struggle? Because that was. Victoria, she never wanted people to think I succeeded because of her. She wanted me to stand on my own. Adrian laughed. A cold laugh. See? He looked at everyone. This is exactly my point. Ethan's entire career was influenced by Victoria. The room became tense again. Adrian continued. How can anyone trust a system where the CEO personally selects her husband? The argument was powerful, because this time, there was truth mixed with the lie. That was always the most dangerous kind of attack. That I looked at Victoria. She knew. This was the moment Adrian wanted. Not to prove I was corrupt, but to make my success look meaningless. That I stood. He's right about one thing. Everyone looked at me. Victoria's eyes changed. She didn't expect me to agree. I continued. Victoria helped me enter Blackridge. Silence. But she didn't create my results. I clicked the screen. My performance records appeared. My projects, my decisions, my failures, my recoveries. I looked at Adrian. You keep saying she gave me everything. I shook my head. No. She gave me an opportunity, and I earned everything after that. The room became quiet, because that was the difference. Opportunity and achievement were not the same thing. I continued. If Adrian believes one person can fake 6 years of results, I looked around. Then he doesn't understand this company. The chairman stared at the documents. The shareholders started reviewing the information. The atmosphere changed for the first time. Adrian wasn't controlling the room, that he was defending himself. Then suddenly, his phone rang, that he looked at the screen, and his expression changed. Not anger, not confidence, fear, small, but real. He answered that a few seconds later. He ended the call. Everyone watched him. Victoria narrowed her eyes. What happened? Adrian didn't answer. I looked at him. Because I knew. Something had gone wrong. Something unexpected. Finally, Adrian said. The audit team arrived. The room froze. Victoria frowned. What audit team? Adrian looked at her, then at me. And for the first time, he looked genuinely nervous. Your father? I froze. Victoria froze. My father? Adrian nodded. He is back. The room became silent, because everyone knew one thing, that if Adrian was afraid of someone, that person was far more dangerous than Adrian himself. For the first time since this entire fight started, Adrian Sterling looked afraid. Not annoyed, not frustrated, not angry, afraid. And that told me more than any document or recording ever could, that a person like Adrian didn't fear losing an argument. He feared losing control. The chairman looked confused. Adrian. He stared at him. You. Said the founder was retired. Adrian didn't answer. That Victoria's expression changed. My father has been gone for years. Adrian looked at her. Not anymore. The room became chaotic. Everyone started asking questions. Investors, board members, executives. Nobody expected this, especially Victoria. She stood completely still. That I had seen Victoria handle hostile negotiations, that I had seen her destroy executives with a few sentences, I had seen her face billion-dollar problems without changing expression. But this was different. This wasn't business. This was family. I stepped closer. Victoria. She looked at me. Are you okay? Her answer came after a pause. I don't know. That was the first time I heard those words from her. That I didn't ask anything else, because I understood. Some wounds didn't need questions, they needed time. But Adrian didn't give her time. That he immediately tried to regain control. This meeting is irrelevant now. Everyone looked at him. The audit team's arrival changes nothing. I almost laughed. Of course, even now. Even when his biggest fear had returned, he was still trying to control the conversation. Victoria looked at him. No. Her voice was cold. It changes everything. Adrian's expression tightened. She continued. Because my father knows exactly how this company was built. A pause. And he knows exactly who tried to steal it. That sentence changed the atmosphere. Because everyone knew the founder of Sterling Holdings wasn't someone ordinary. He wasn't a public figure. He rarely appeared. But his reputation was legendary. That he built companies by destroying competitors. He understood money, power, people, and apparently understood Adrian too. The meeting was temporarily suspended. Nobody wanted to make a decision while the founder was returning. Within 2 hours, the entire company was in chaos. Employees didn't know what was happening. Investors demanded answers. The board members started questioning their previous decisions. And Adrian, for the first time, he wasn't leading the situation, he was reacting. That afternoon, Victoria and I went to a private conference room. She sat quietly. I waited. Finally, she spoke. I should have told you. I looked at her. About your father? She nodded. And Adrian? I sat across from her. Why didn't you? She was silent. Then, because my family is complicated. I almost smiled. That's one way to describe it. She looked at me. I spent my entire life trying to escape my family. Why? She looked down. Because everyone in my family believes love is weakness. That surprised me. Victoria continued. That my father built an empire. He believed emotions made people vulnerable. Adrian learned that. She paused. But I didn't. I understood. That was the difference between them. Adrian saw people as tools. Victoria saw people as partners, including me. He thought caring about someone would make me weak. She looked at me, and when he found out about us, I frowned. He knew. She nodded. Yes, when? Before we married. That surprised me. What did he do? Victoria looked away. He warned me about me. Yes. What did he say? Her expression became colder. He said you were a weakness. I stayed quiet. And you? I told him he was wrong. A small smile appeared. Because you weren't my weakness. She looked at me. You were the reason I became stronger. For a moment, I forgot about Adrian, the company, the board, everything. Then my phone rang. Ryan. I answered. What happened? His voice was urgent. You need to see this. What? Adrian has another move. I frowned. What move? The shareholders. Didn't the vote stop? Yes, then. Ryan lowered his voice. He changed the voting structure. My expression changed. What? He found a legal clause, which means he doesn't need the majority anymore. I stood. What does he need? Ryan answered. Control of the founder's shares. Silence that I understood immediately. The shares belonging to Victoria's father. Yes, but he's been gone. Exactly. Ryan sounded nervous. If Adrian controls those shares, he controls the company. I ended the call. Victoria immediately understood. Adrian isn't waiting for the vote. No, he's going after my father's ownership. I nodded. But how? That was the question. Because founder shares weren't easy to transfer. They were protected. Unless someone already had access. Victoria stood. His office. What? My father's private holding documents. She grabbed her coat. If Adrian has access to those files? I followed. Then? She looked at me. Then he has been preparing this since before you joined Blackridge. That sentence hit me. Because suddenly everything connected again. My hiring to Adrian's involvement. The attacks. The takeover. Maybe my entire career had been part of his plan. Not because he wanted me to succeed. Because he wanted to monitor me. But why? What did he know about me? We arrived at Sterling Holdings' private archive. Ryan had already sent the access information. The security system showed something. Unusual. One person had entered recently. The name appeared. Sarah Mitchell. Victoria's expression changed. She was here. I nodded. And she wasn't alone. The security footage loaded. The image appeared. A man walking into the archive. I couldn't see his face clearly. But Victoria recognized him immediately. Her face became pale. No. I looked at her. Who is it? She didn't answer. She just stared. Then whispered. Impossible. The footage zoomed closer. The man turned. And I finally saw his face. I froze. Because I knew him. Everyone at Blackridge knew him. The person standing beside Sarah. The person helping Adrian. Was not an outsider. It was someone who had been protecting the company for years. Someone everyone trusted. Someone who had always been on Victoria's side. My own boss. The chairman. Robert Hayes. Victoria looked at me and said the words that changed everything. Adrian wasn't trying to take Blackridge. He was taking it back. The next morning, every employee received another announcement. But this time, it wasn't from Adrian. It wasn't from the board. It was from Victoria. The message contained only one sentence. The truth about Blackridge begins today. And attached was a file that would expose every person involved, including me, because hidden inside those documents was the biggest secret of my life. For 6 years, I believed I was fighting for my place at Blackridge. I was wrong. I wasn't fighting for a position. I was fighting against a story that someone else had written about me before I even entered the company. That was the most disturbing part. Not that Adrian manipulated people. Not that Sarah betrayed Victoria. Not that Robert secretly worked with them. The most disturbing part was knowing someone had been watching me from the beginning. They knew my potential. They knew my weaknesses. They knew exactly where to push. And the person at the center of everything was me. The morning Victoria released the statement, Blackridge stopped working. Not because employees stopped doing their jobs. Because everyone was waiting for the truth. The company-wide announcement contained only one file. No explanation. No warning. Just evidence. Everyone opened it. And within minutes, the entire company knew. The first page was simple. Timeline of internal manipulation. Dates, names, actions. The first name, Adrian Sterling. The second, Sarah Mitchell. The third, Robert Hayes. The room where Victoria and I watched the reaction was silent. Ryan stood nearby. He looked uncomfortable. I never thought it was this big. I looked at him. You thought Adrian just wanted my position. He nodded. I was wrong. Victoria looked at the screen. Everyone was wrong. That sentence was rare. Victoria admitting mistakes. But she wasn't afraid of it. That was why she was different. Weak leaders protected their image. Strong leaders protected the truth. The file continued. It showed how Adrian slowly built influence. How Sarah provided access. How Robert manipulated board decisions. How they used rumors to weaken Victoria. How they used me as the target. Then the final section appeared. The section everyone was waiting for. Ethan Carter. I stared at my name. Even though I already knew something was coming, my body still reacted. Victoria noticed. Ethan, I'm fine. She didn't believe me. But she didn't push. The document opened, and the first sentence changed everything. Ethan Carter's entry into Blackridge was approved 6 years ago due to a recommendation from Victoria Sterling. That part wasn't surprising that we already knew. The next sentence was, however, the recommendation was not based solely on his professional performance. I frowned. What? Victoria looked confused too. She hadn't seen this part. The next page loaded, and suddenly, everything changed. A document appeared, an old contract, a legal agreement, a name, my father's name. I froze. My father? Victoria looked at me. You knew? I shook my head. No. The document explained something I never knew. Before I joined Blackridge, my father had worked with Sterling Holdings, not as an employee, as a strategic partner. Years ago, he helped create a business model that later became the foundation of several Blackridge investments. But after a disagreement, he disappeared from the business world. I stared at the screen. I never knew any of this. Victoria looked at me. Neither did I. That surprised me, because Victoria knew almost everything about business. But not this. The document continued. After my father's departure, certain people wanted control of the technology and strategies he created, including Adrian, including Robert. And when they discovered I had inherited my father's analytical ability, they became interested. I understood. They didn't bring me into Blackridge because they wanted me to succeed. They brought me in because they wanted to monitor me. They wanted to know what I knew. They wanted to know whether I had access to my father's old information. But there was one problem that I didn't. I had spent 6 years proving myself without even knowing why people were watching me. I laughed quietly. Victoria looked at me. What? I spent 6 years thinking people underestimated me because I was ordinary. I looked at the document. Turns out they underestimated me because they thought they knew me. Victoria walked closer. Ethan. I looked at her. Does this change how you see me? The question surprised me, because it was exactly the kind of question Victoria would never normally ask. I answered immediately. No. She stayed silent. You think I care that your family knew my father? I shook my head. I care about who you are. She looked at me. Not where you came from. For a moment, Victoria didn't say anything. Then she looked away. I knew why. Because Victoria Sterling was used to being strong for everyone else. She wasn't used to someone being strong for her. Then Ryan interrupted. There's a problem. We both looked at him. What? He pointed at the screen. The file isn't complete. I frowned. What do you mean? The last section is missing. Victoria checked that he was right. The evidence ended before the final conclusion. Someone removed the most important part. Who had access? Ryan answered. Only 3 people. Victoria. Me, and Robert. Silence. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? A voice. Robert. Ethan. My expression changed. What do you want? To explain. I almost laughed. Now? Yes. After everything. Robert sighed. You don't understand? Then explain. A pause. Then he said, Adrian is not the biggest threat. I frowned. What? He thinks he is controlling this. Robert's voice became serious. But he isn't. Then who is? Silence. Then, your father. I froze. What? Robert continued. You think your father disappeared? He didn't. He was removed. I looked at Victoria. She heard everything. Robert continued. Everything happening now started 20 years ago. And Ethan. A pause. You were never a target. You were the reason. The call ended. I stared at the phone. Nobody spoke, because suddenly the entire story changed again. Adrian wasn't the final enemy. Robert wasn't the final enemy. Even my father wasn't just a victim. There was another layer. A deeper one. Victoria looked at me. What are you thinking? I answered honestly. I think we've been looking at the wrong war. She nodded slowly, because she understood. This wasn't about controlling Blackridge. It was about controlling the person who could change its future. That moment. The conference room doors opened. A security officer walked in. Ms. Sterling. Victoria turned. What happened? The officer looked at me. There is someone here to see Mr. Carter. Who? The officer hesitated, then answered. Your father. I froze, because for 6 years, I thought I was alone. I thought I knew my own story. But now, the man who disappeared from my life was standing outside the door, and he was finally ready to tell me the truth. For 6 years, I had imagined what I would say if I ever saw my father again. I imagined anger, questions, accusations. I imagined asking why he left, why he disappeared, why he never called, why he never explained. But when the door opened and I saw him standing there, I felt none of those things. I just stood there. Because the man in front of me looked older than the man I remembered. Not weaker, just tired. Like someone who had carried a secret for too long. Victoria looked at him carefully. She didn't recognize him at first, but after a few seconds, her expression changed. You. My father looked at her. Victoria Sterling. The way he said her name told me everything. They had met before. I looked between them. You know each other? Neither answered immediately. Then Victoria said, yes. That surprised me. When? She looked at my father. 20 years ago. I frowned. 20 years. Before Blackridge. Before my career. Before everything. My father looked at me. Ethan. I didn't move. Why are you here? A simple question, but it carried years of anger. He accepted it. I owe you an explanation. You owe me more than that. He nodded. I know. The room became quiet. Even Ryan stepped back. This wasn't business anymore. This was personal. My father looked at Victoria. Can we talk privately? I answered before she could. No. Everyone looked at me. I continued. Whatever you have to say. I looked directly at him. Say it here. He studied me. Then nodded. Fair. He sat down and finally told me the truth. 20 years ago. My father wasn't just a businessman. He was one of the people who helped build the foundation of what later became Blackridge. Not officially. Not publicly. But behind the scenes he created strategies, investment models, expansion plans, many of the systems that made Sterling Holdings successful. Then something happened. He discovered someone inside the company was stealing from them. Someone powerful. Someone protected. He tried to expose it. And that was when everything changed. Who? I asked. My father looked at Victoria, then answered. Robert Hayes. Nobody spoke. Victoria's expression changed. Robert. Again. The same name appeared everywhere. The trusted chairman, the respected executive, the man who had spent years pretending to protect the company. My father continued. Robert wasn't alone. Adrian? He nodded. Adrian was young. He wasn't the mastermind. I looked at Victoria. That was important, because everyone believed Adrian started everything. But maybe he was just continuing something older. My father continued. Robert convinced Adrian that he deserved more. He told him Victoria would take everything from him. Victoria looked away because she understood. Adrian had been manipulated too. Not enough to excuse him, but enough to explain him. What happened to you? I asked. My father's expression became serious. I disappeared because I was forced. Yes, by who? He looked at me. People who wanted your father's work. I clenched my fists. And you left me. His expression changed. That was the first time I saw emotion from him. I thought leaving you was the only way to protect you. I laughed bitterly. Protect me? I stood. You left me without answers. I know. You let me think you abandoned me. I know. Do you know what that felt like? He lowered his head. I know I failed you. The honesty stopped me, because I expected excuses, not regret, he continued. But I watched you. I froze. What? From a distance. Why? Because I saw what you became. He looked at me, and I was proud. I didn't know how to respond, because part of me wanted to be angry, but another part remembered something. My entire life. I wondered why my father disappeared. Now I knew he wasn't running away, that he was hiding. Then Victoria asked the question everyone was thinking. Why now? My father looked at her. Because Robert made his final move. What do you mean? He doesn't want Blackridge. Everyone looked confused. My father continued. He wants Ethan. The room became silent. Again, I hated hearing my own name. Because every time someone said it, another secret appeared. What does that mean? My father looked at me. You inherited something. I frowned. What? Your mother's shares. I froze. My mother? I barely remembered her. She died when I was young. My father continued. Before she passed. She owned a private voting stake connected to Sterling Holdings. Victoria looked shocked. Impossible. My father nodded. That's why they hid it. What stake? He looked at me. 7%. The room went silent. 7%. In a company like Blackridge. That wasn't money. That was power. I suddenly understood. Adrian wasn't afraid of my talent. Robert wasn't afraid of my career. They were afraid of my ownership. I wasn't an employee. I was a shareholder. They hidden one. And I had no idea. My father continued. Your mother placed the shares in a trust. Only you could activate them. How? At 30 years old. I froze. That's why they waited. Victoria looked at me. Your birthday. I nodded slowly. My 35th birthday had already passed, which meant the shares were active, and I never knew. My father looked at me. They knew. Adrian knew. Robert knew. They needed to control you before you discovered the truth. Suddenly, everything connected. The job, the attention, the attacks, the attempts to destroy my reputation. They weren't trying to remove an employee. They were trying to stop a shareholder, someone who could challenge their control. That I looked at Victoria. She understood too. For years, everyone thought I was standing behind her. But the truth was, I had my own power. Power I never asked for. Power I never used. And that scared them. Then my phone received another message. A company alert. I opened it. The shareholders' meeting had resumed. But there was a new agenda. Emergency vote. Removal of Victoria Sterling and transfer of control authority. Ryan looked at the screen. They're moving faster. My father stood. Robert knows we're here. Victoria looked at me. What do we do? For the first time in this entire battle, everyone looked at me. Not Victoria, not my father. Me 0.6 years ago. I entered Blackridge as an unknown employee. 0.3 days ago. I was the man everyone wanted removed. Now, I was the person standing between them and control of the company. I looked at the meeting invitation. Then at Victoria. We go. She nodded. And then? I smiled. Then we stopped defending ourselves. A pause. We remind them who they are fighting. The final shareholder meeting began 1 hour later. Adrian entered confidently. Robert beside him. Sarah behind them. They thought they had won. They thought they had removed Victoria. They thought they had buried my identity. They were wrong. The chairman opened the meeting. Today, shareholders will vote on control transfer. Adrian stood. Before the vote, he looked at me. I believe everyone deserves to understand who Ethan Carter really is. The screen behind him turned on. My history appeared. But this time, I didn't stop him because I knew something he didn't. He thought exposing me would destroy me. He didn't understand. The truth was my weapon. Adrian smiled. Ethan Carter was never a normal employee. The room watched. He was placed inside Blackridge for personal reasons. I stood quietly. Then Adrian said, "He is the hidden shareholder." The room exploded. Whispers, shock, questions. Adrian smiled. He thought this was his victory. Then I walked forward and said, "You're right." Everyone became silent. Adrian's smile froze. I continued, "That I am not just an employee." I looked at the shareholders. I am a shareholder. A pause. "But you made one mistake." I looked at Adrian. "You thought this information would destroy me." I smiled. "It proves exactly why you tried to destroy me." The room became silent because now everyone understood. Adrian didn't expose my secret. He exposed his motive. I turned to the board. My entire career was investigated. My reputation was attacked. My wife was removed. All because certain people were afraid of one thing. I pointed at the ownership documents. That I would discover the truth. The chairman looked at Adrian. For the first time, Adrian had nothing to say. Then Victoria stepped beside me. And together, we faced everyone. The people who thought they had won. But the real battle was just beginning. Because now everyone knew my identity. And tomorrow, they would learn my power. The moment the shareholder meeting began, I knew something had changed. A week ago, I was the man everyone whispered about. The employee who supposedly climbed too quickly. The husband who supposedly received unfair advantages. The person Adrian wanted everyone to distrust. But now I was standing in front of the same people with the truth exposed. That I wasn't just Ethan Carter. That I wasn't just Victoria Sterling's husband. That I was a shareholder. And more importantly, I was the person Adrian and Robert had been afraid of from the beginning. Adrian stared at me for the first time. He didn't look like the man controlling everything. He looked like someone watching his plan collapse. But he recovered quickly. That was what made him dangerous. He smiled. A calm, confident smile. Interesting. The shareholders looked at him. Adrian continued. "So you admit it." I raised an eyebrow. "Admit what?" "That you entered Blackridge because of your family connections." I almost laughed. "Is that your argument?" He nodded. "Yes." He turned toward the shareholders. "Everyone here should understand what happened." He pointed at me. Ethan Carter was never an ordinary employee. He had hidden ownership. He had a personal connection to the Sterling family. He was never competing fairly. The room became noisy. I expected that. Because Adrian's strategy was always the same, that he didn't need to prove something completely, he only needed to create doubt. But this time, I was ready. I looked at him. "You forgot one thing." Adrian looked at me. "What?" I walked toward the screen. "You keep saying I wasn't competing fairly." I pressed a button. My work records appeared. Then let's look at the results. Projects, revenue growth, successful investments, recovered losses. Every major achievement from my 6 years at Blackridge appeared that I turned toward everyone. These numbers were created before I knew about my ownership. Nobody spoke that I continued. That I didn't know about the shares. I didn't know about my father's past. I didn't know why I was approved. I only knew one thing. I looked at Victoria. I wanted to prove I deserved my position. The room became quiet, because that was the truth, that I didn't need hidden power, that I didn't need family connections, that I built my reputation before I knew I had anything else. Adrian's expression became colder. Very touching. I ignored him that he continued. But emotions don't change facts, no. I looked at him. But facts change your story. His eyes narrowed that I turned to the screen. Let's discuss facts. The next document appeared. Robert Hayes' financial records. The room changed instantly, because this wasn't about me anymore. This was about them. I continued. For 6 years, someone inside Blackridge has been moving company assets through private channels. The shareholders looked at Robert. His face changed. Only slightly, but enough that I continued. That at first, we thought Adrian was behind everything. I looked at him, but we were wrong. Adrian frowned. What are you talking about? I smiled. The truth is, I paused. Adrian wasn't controlling this operation. Everyone looked confused. Then I said, he was being used. The room exploded. Adrian's expression changed. What? I looked at him. You thought you were taking back Blackridge. A pause. But Robert was letting you think that. Robert immediately stood. This is ridiculous. I looked at him. Is it? I clicked another file. A recording played. Robert's voice. Everyone heard it, including Adrian. The recording was simple. A conversation between Robert and Sarah. Robert saying, let Adrian believe he's in control. Once he gets Victoria removed, we'll take everything. The room went silent. Adrian stopped moving, because he finally understood. The person he trusted betrayed him too. Robert immediately shouted, this is fake. Ryan stepped forward. No. Everyone looked at him. Ryan continued, that I recorded it myself. Adrian looked at Ryan. You? Ryan looked back. I'm sorry. Adrian laughed. A cold laugh. You think they will trust you? Ryan nodded. No. A pause. But they don't have to. He pointed at the screen. The evidence speaks. That was the difference. For months, Adrian controlled people with stories. Now he was facing evidence, and evidence didn't care about confidence. Robert looked furious. You have no idea what you're doing. I looked at him. No. I shook my head. You spent years believing everyone else was stupid. A pause. But you made the same mistake. What mistake? You forgot people were watching you. The room stayed silent. Then Victoria stepped forward. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The former CEO. The woman they removed. She looked at the board. I have one final question. The chairman looked at her. What? She pointed at Robert. How many years? Robert didn't answer. Victoria continued. How many years did you pretend to protect this company while stealing from it? Still no answer. Then she looked at Adrian. And you? Adrian looked at her. How many years did you hate me because you believed you deserved my position? His expression changed, because that question hit deeper. Victoria wasn't attacking him. She was exposing him. You blamed everyone else for your failures. She paused. But you never asked why you failed. Adrian looked away. For the first time, he had no response. Because Victoria was right that he wanted power, but he never wanted responsibility. He wanted the title, not the burden. The chairman called for a recess. But before anyone left, I received a message. Unknown number. .1 sentence. You found the first layer. I froze. Another message appeared. But you still don't know who started it. My expression changed. Victoria noticed. What happened? I showed her the phone. Her face became serious, because both of us understood. This wasn't over. Adrian and Robert were not the beginning. They were only pieces. Someone else was still behind everything. Then another message appeared. A name that made my blood run cold, because it was someone we never considered. Someone who had been watching from the beginning. Someone who knew every move we made. The message contained only 3 words. Your mother lied. I stared at the screen. Why mother? A woman who had been gone for decades. A woman who I believed was only a memory. But now, her name was connected to everything. Victoria grabbed my hand. Ethan. I looked at her. I think we were wrong. About what? She looked at the message. About who the victim was. The shareholder meeting was paused. But the real battle had just started. For years, I thought my biggest mystery was why my father disappeared. I was wrong. The real mystery was my mother, because my mother was the one person everyone talked about. but nobody explained that my father avoided discussing her. Victoria never mentioned her. Adrian never mentioned her. Robert never mentioned her. And now, after everything was exposed, someone sent me a message saying, "Your mother lied." Those 3 words were more dangerous than any threat, because a threat meant someone wanted something, that a secret meant someone already had something. And whoever sent that message knew exactly where to hurt me. That I looked at Victoria. "Can we trace the number?" Ryan immediately took out his laptop. "I'll try." Adrian was still inside the meeting room. Robert was being questioned by board members. The company was falling apart. But somehow, that wasn't the biggest problem anymore, because I realized something. The people who attacked me were never trying to destroy me. They were trying to stop me from discovering something connected to my family. Ryan typed quickly. After several minutes, he frowned. "That's strange. What?" "The number doesn't exist." I looked at him. "Impossible. It shouldn't be possible." He turned the screen toward us. The message came through a private encrypted system. Victoria's expression changed. "Who has access to that system?" Ryan answered immediately. "Very few people. Names." He hesitated, then said, "Sterling family." The room became silent. Of course, the answer always returned to the same place. The Sterling family. The family that built the empire. The family that destroyed itself trying to control it. I looked at Victoria. "Who else is alive?" She understood my question, and that worried me, because she didn't answer quickly. Finally, she said, "Point one person. Who?" Her voice became quieter. "My aunt." I frowned. "Your aunt?" "Elizabeth Sterling." The name meant nothing to me, but Victoria's expression told me everything. "Why didn't you mention her?" "Because nobody talks about her." "Why?" Victoria looked away. "Because she disappeared." Another disappearance, another secret, another person connected to everything. At this point, I wasn't surprised anymore. I was tired of discovering that every answer created 10 more questions. I looked at Victoria. "Where is she?" Victoria shook her head. "I don't know." Ryan closed his laptop. "But I might." We looked at him. He hesitated. "Adrian mentioned her once." Victoria immediately turned. "When?" "Before everything started." "What did he say?" Ryan thought for a moment. He said, a pause. "She was the only person who could stop him." That sentence changed everything, because Adrian feared her, the man who manipulated everyone, the man who challenged Victoria, the man who believed he deserved everything, was afraid of one woman. Victoria immediately grabbed her phone. "What are you doing?" "Finding her." "How?" She looked at me. "By asking the person who knows my family better than anyone." I understood. Her father. An hour later, we met with Victoria's father. He looked at the documents we brought. Then he looked at me. "You received the message." I froze. "You know?" He nodded. "Because I expected it." Victoria stepped forward. "You knew?" Her father sighed. "I knew this day would come." "Then why didn't you tell us?" "Because some truths destroy people before they help them." Victoria's expression hardened. "You don't get to decide that." He looked at her. "I know." A pause. "You are right." That was rare. A powerful man admitting he was wrong. He looked at me. "Ethan." I waited. "Your mother was not just a shareholder. What was she?" His answer shocked me. "She was the original owner of the company." Nobody spoke. Even Victoria looked surprised. "What?" Her father continued. "Before Sterling Holdings existed." He looked at me. "Your mother created the foundation." I frowned. "My mother?" He nodded. "She had the vision. She created the investment structure. She built the first network." I stared at him. "Then why did everyone think your family built it?" His expression became complicated. "Because history is usually written by the person who wins." That sentence stayed with me, because it explained everything. Why mother wasn't a small part of the story. She was the beginning. But then why did she disappear? Why did she leave everything? Why did she hide my inheritance? Why did she let everyone believe she was gone? I asked. "What happened to her?" Silence. Then Victoria's father answered. "She trusted the wrong people." I looked at him. "Who?" He didn't answer, because he didn't need to. We already knew. Robert. The same name. Again, but this time, something was different, because Robert wasn't just stealing a company, he was stealing a legacy. Legacy. Then Victoria's father gave us an old file. "This belongs to you." I opened it. Inside was a letter to my mother's handwriting. I hadn't seen it in years. My hand stopped, because suddenly, this wasn't evidence. This wasn't business. This was from my mother. A person I thought I would never hear from again. I opened the letter. Only a few sentences. "Ethan. If you're reading this, It means they finally found out who you are. My heart tightened. I am sorry I couldn't tell you the truth, but I needed you to grow without power. Because power changes people. I continued reading. Your father wanted to fight. I wanted to hide. Neither choice was perfect, but we both wanted the same thing. To protect you. Then the final sentence. The sentence that changed everything. The person who betrayed me was someone you trusted. I stopped. Victoria looked at me. What does it say? I couldn't answer immediately, because I knew. I already knew. The letter continued to do not trust the person who helped you enter Blackridge. My breathing stopped. Because there was only one person. One person who helped me enter. One person who knew my ability. One person who said she discovered me. Victoria. I looked up, and for the first time, a terrible thought appeared. Not because I believed it, because the evidence pointed there. Victoria saw my expression. Ethan, I looked at her. She immediately understood. You think it's me? No. The answer came quickly, too quickly, because I knew her. But the letter, the timing, the mystery, everything was designed to create doubt. Victoria's eyes became colder, not angry. Hurt. You don't trust me? I stepped forward. I do. Then why did you look at me like that? I had no answer. Because the truth was, for the first time since this began, someone had successfully created distance between us. And whoever sent the message wanted exactly that. Ryan suddenly interrupted. Ethan, I turned. What? He pointed at the screen. I found the source of the message. My attention shifted. Who? Ryan looked serious, then said that it wasn't sent from outside. A pause. It came from inside Blackridge. Victoria frowned. Impossible. Ryan shook his head. No. He looked at me. Someone inside the company sent it. Someone with access. Someone who knows everything. I stared at the screen. Then the name appeared, and my entire body went cold, because the person behind the message was someone I trusted, someone who had helped me survive the entire battle, someone standing beside me right now. The name appeared. Ryan Parker. I looked at him. He froze. No. But the evidence was there. The person who helped expose Adrian was now the person connected to the final betrayal. And suddenly I realized something terrifying. Maybe the war wasn't about taking Blackridge. Maybe the war was about making sure nobody knew the truth. Not Adrian. Not Robert. Not Victoria. Not even me. For several seconds. Nobody moved. The name on the screen remained there. Ryan Parker. The same Ryan who exposed Adrian. The same Ryan who gave us the evidence. The same Ryan who helped us uncover Sarah. The same Ryan who claimed he was betrayed. Now his name appeared as the source of the message. The final betrayal. I looked at him. He looked back at me. And for the first time since we met, Ryan looked genuinely terrified. Not because he was caught, because he didn't understand what happened either. I didn't send that. His voice was quiet. Nobody answered. Ryan stepped forward. Ethan, I watched him carefully. I swear. I didn't say anything, because this was the hardest part about trust. Trust wasn't built by words. It was built by choices. And right now, the evidence was saying one thing. His words were saying another. Victoria stood beside me. Her voice was calm. Ryan. He looked at her. Explain. Ryan looked at the screen. Then at his laptop? I don't know. That answer didn't help. Victoria's expression became colder. You access the system? No. You have the credentials. I used them to investigate Adrian. Then how did this happen? Ryan had no answer. And that was the problem. Silence looked like guilt, especially when everyone was already expecting betrayal. Then my father spoke. Don't rush. Everyone looked at him. He walked toward the computer. Look at the timestamp. Ryan immediately checked. His expression changed. What? What? I asked. Ryan zoomed in. Then his face became pale. The message was sent 3 hours before I got access to the system. I frowned, meaning? He looked at us. Someone copied my access. Victoria immediately understood. Someone used his identity. Ryan nodded. Yes. My father looked at the screen. Someone wants you to believe Ryan betrayed you. I looked around. Someone wanted division. Again, the same strategy. Create doubt. Break trust. Make everyone fight each other. Then take control. But this time, we knew the pattern. And we knew the person behind it was still hiding. Ryan looked at me. Ethan, I nodded. I believe you. He looked surprised. Really? Yes, why? I looked at him. Because if you wanted to betray us, I paused. You wouldn't make such an obvious mistake. Ryan almost smiled. That is probably the nicest thing you've ever said to me. I ignored him, but Victoria noticed that a small smile appeared. Even now, even during chaos, she was still my wife. She still understood me. Then my father's phone rang. Everyone looked at him. He answered. His expression changed immediately. What happened? He listened, then ended the call. Robert escaped. The room went silent. What? Victoria stepped forward. How? My father looked serious. Someone helped him. Of course, another hidden connection. Another person that I was starting to understand. This wasn't a company takeover. This was an entire network. People who spent decades preparing. People who believed they could control everything. But they made one mistake. They believed control meant knowing everything. They didn't, because there was one thing they didn't understand. People change. Plans change. And people who think they control everyone usually miss the person standing closest to them. 3 hours later, we found Robert, not because we tracked him, because he contacted us that he wanted a deal. Of course, people like Robert always wanted a deal when they realized they were losing. The meeting happened privately. Only Victoria, me, my father, and Ryan attended. Robert looked completely different. The confidence was gone. The perfect chairman image was gone. He looked like a man who knew the game was ending. Victoria looked at him. Why? Robert smiled. A tired smile. That's your question? Yes, after everything. She shook her head. Why? Robert looked at her. Because your father chose you. Silence. Victoria didn't react. Robert continued. That was the beginning. He chose you. He trusted you. He gave you everything. And what did I get? He laughed. I stood beside him for 30 years, and I was still just the assistant. I understood. Resentment. The same poison. Robert continued. Your family created an empire, but people like me built it. Victoria looked at him. And that justified stealing? No. He looked away. It justified wanting more. I shook my head. That's what everyone says before they betray someone. Robert looked at me. You don't understand. I smiled. No. I understand perfectly. Everyone in this room wanted something. Adrian wanted power. Sarah wanted recognition. You wanted ownership. I looked at him. But none of you wanted responsibility. Robert stayed silent, because he knew I was right. Then I asked, who sent the message? Robert looked at me. A strange expression appeared. Fear. Again. You're not ready. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Who? Robert looked at me. Your mother. Nobody spoke. I froze. What? Robert continued. She isn't dead. The world stopped. I couldn't process it. My mother. The woman I believed was gone. The woman whose letter I read. Alive. Impossible. Victoria looked shocked. Where is she? Robert shook his head. I don't know. You expect us to believe that? Robert smiled. Believe whatever you want. Then he looked at me. But she has been watching. My voice became cold. Why? Robert answered. Because she knew one day you would have to choose. Choose what? Whether you become like them. A pause. Or whether you destroy everything they built. 2 days later, Blackridge held another shareholder meeting. This time, nobody questioned my position. Nobody questioned Victoria. Nobody questioned our right to lead. Because the truth was finally public. Adrian Sterling was removed from all company authority. Sarah Mitchell resigned before legal action began. Robert Hayes faced investigation. And the board unanimously restored Victoria as CEO. But Victoria did something nobody expected. She didn't return alone. She stood beside me. The chairman announced, effective immediately, Ethan Carter will become executive partner and major shareholder representative. The room applauded, but I wasn't thinking about the title. I was thinking about everything that happened a few weeks ago. I was just the employee everyone thought was hiding something. The man who told coworkers he was single. The man who received 99 roses at his desk and shocked the entire company. The man everyone underestimated. Now everyone knew the truth. Those roses weren't from a secret admirer. They were from my wife, the Ice Queen CEO, the woman who looked impossible to reach, the woman who stood beside me when the entire world questioned me. After the meeting ended, Victoria and I stood alone. She looked at me. You know something? What? I still can't believe you told everyone you were single. I smiled. I was avoiding attention. You created more attention. True. She shook her head. You are unbelievable. I looked at her. And yet you married me. She smiled. Unfortunately. Unfortunately? Yes. I raised an eyebrow. Then she stepped closer. But I would choose you again. That was enough. Because after everything, after secrets, after betrayal, after losing almost everything, that we still had the one thing nobody could take. Each other. Then my phone vibrated. Point one new message. No numbered. No name. Just a photo. A woman standing outside a building. Older, but familiar. My hands froze. Because I knew that face. Victoria looked at the screen and whispered, "Ethan." I looked at her. It's her, my mother, the woman who disappeared 20 years ago. The woman whose secrets started everything. The message underneath contained only one sentence. "It's time you learned why I left." I stared at the screen because I thought the war was over. I was wrong. The first battle had ended. The real story was only beginning.